Chapter 99. The King of Medicine let out a surprised cry as he quickly retracted his hand and said, "Don't misunderstand, I don't want to hurt you. I am a doctor and I just want to see what is wrong with your body." Tang Jing did not relax. As a doctor with a 9th stage natal stage cultivation, this was no longer an ordinary doctor. "Thank you, I am already well and do not need to be examined." Tang Jing had 9 main meridians and this old man could easily find out. Moreover, his true energy and inner strength were completely different, so he could not casually let the other party examine him. The medicine unwillingly said, "Young man, you were unconscious for a few days. This is very strange and we have to figure it out. Otherwise, what will we do if there is any future trouble?" Tang Jing firmly shook his head. "I am clear about my own body, so there is no need, thank you." The King of Medicine was unwilling as he looked towards Feng Xinyang, hoping that she would persuade him as he was too interested in Tang Jing. Feng Xinyang smiled as she knew that Tang Jing was not normal. Since he did not want others to examine him, then she could not force him and said, "Senior King of Medicine, since the little handsome brother is already well, then there is no need to examine him. This time it is all thanks to you." The King of Medicine regretfully shook his head and said, "I did not do much," as he woke up on his own. "But it really is strange, his body is too strange." Sure, help me get out of the hospital." Is identical to, continue, "I want to leave the hospital." Tang Jing did not want to be surrounded by so many people, so he said, "You just woke up, how can you be in such a hurry to leave the hospital?" "I am already fine, look." Tang Jing directly got off the bed. "See," he sucked in a breath of cold air as he felt a piercing pain in his ribs. "Who told you to be brave? You broke 2 ribs, do you know that?" Fang Shishi's eyes were red as she held on to his arm like a wife taking care of her husband. Shi Mengqin wanted to flip out, but in the end she controlled herself. Tang Jing felt that his ribs were indeed broken, but it was not a big problem. It was not convenient for him to be in the hospital. Besides, his grandfather was still at home, so it was better to go home and recuperate. Therefore, he continued to insist on being discharged from the hospital. Fang Shishi could not persuade him, so she could only go through the discharge procedures. "Thank you all for coming to see me. I appreciate your kindness. I will thank you one by one another day." Tang Jing nodded to the others. "Little handsome, you don't have to be so polite with me. Since you're awake, then I'm relieved. Our family's Ding Dang is also very worried about you. She came yesterday, and today, she also said that she wanted to come, but I drove her to school." Feng Xinyang said with a smile. At this time, he still had to show his concern for his daughter. Tang Jing felt warmth in his heart. In the past, when he was in trouble, only his grandfather cared about him. Now that so many people cared about him, he really felt good and warm. Mu Hongyan stared at him blankly. She finally mustered up her courage and said, "Can I talk to you in private?" "Okay." Tang Jing agreed. Since the other party had already recognized him, there was no way to hide this matter. The others could only leave the ward. The King of Medicine looked back 3 times as he walked, his eyes shining as he looked at Tang Jing. He was very reluctant to part with him. Tang Jing really did not understand who this old man was. In short, for this kind of expert, he was a little wary. "Senior godly doctor, I didn't expect to see you here, Mu Hongyan's expression became excited, and a little incoherent. Tang Jing waved his hand, indicating for her to calm down. He calmly said, "Perhaps this is God's will. Since you have seen my true face, then in the future don't call me senior. My name is Tang Jing, you can call me by my name." "How can that be? If you call me senior, what will others think, so it's better to call me by my name. Moreover, I hope you won't tell anyone about this." Tang Jing still wanted to keep a low profile. Mu Hongyan nodded to express her understanding. Nana, who had been holding Tang Jing's hand, shook it and said, "Big brother, I have never told our secret to anyone, including my mother." "I know, Nana is the most obedient." Tang Jing smiled bitterly. If Mu Hongyan did not personally come, perhaps this secret would continue to be kept. Mu Hongyan saw that the relationship between the two was so harmonious and relaxed a little. She smiled and said, "This little girl even keeps it a secret from me. She is closer to you than to me." "Mother is talking nonsense. I am equally close to the two of you," Nana hurriedly corrected. "Son. Tang Zheng." Mu Hongyan subconsciously wanted to call him senior again, but in the end she changed her words and said, "The king of medicine does not have any ill intentions. He is a highly respected doctor who has treated Nana before." This time he heard that she had recovered, so he rushed over. "Yesterday, it was Feng Xinyang who personally invited him to treat you." Tang Zheng suddenly understood and glanced at the king of medicine through the glass on the door. He found that even through the glass, the king of medicine's gaze was still burning. "So he is a medical maniac, but I hope you can keep the fact that I cured Nana a secret," Tang Zheng warned. "Of course I will keep it a secret, but the king of medicine has always wanted to find you. He has an old friend who is suffering from a chronic illness and wants to ask you to treat him." Other than relying on the life-prolonging pill, Tang Zheng was not as good at treating common illnesses as a normal doctor, let alone the seemingly powerful king of medicine. He quickly shook his head and refused. "No, my medical skills are not high, so I can't help you, so please keep my identity a secret." "This. Tang Zheng, I have a presumptuous request. The king of medicine is a kind and benevolent person. He has saved many people and has also helped Nana a lot in the past. I can't bear to lie to him, so can you please make an exception? I promise that this matter will not be known to many people, only the king of medicine. After all, it is a matter of life and death." Tang Zheng hesitated. "Tang Zheng, I know this request is too much, but I have experienced this kind of thing before. I know very well how desperate the patient and the other person's family feel. They really hope for a miracle and a glimmer of hope." Tang Zheng glanced at Nana. She was playing with Tang Zheng's fingers. When she saw him looking at her, she revealed a bright smile. It was extremely cute. He couldn't help but think of his grandfather. He gradually understood Mu Hongyan's feelings. Moreover, his grandfather had always taught him to be a good person. His heart softened and he said, "Okay, but this matter can't be spread, only the few of us know. As for his old friend, we will arrange another time to treat him." Tang Zheng did not intend to force himself. If he could help, he would naturally help. If he couldn't, then it was the will of the heavens. Mu Hongyan hurriedly nodded and thanked him repeatedly. Tang Zheng sat in the Fang family's car and returned home. Fang Shishir supported him into the small house. Shi Mengqin disdainfully stood far away. This was her first time coming to this kind of place. She wanted nothing more than to run away, but she couldn't. Otherwise, there would only be one man and one woman left. God knows what would happen. I really don't have any major problems. It doesn't hurt much anymore. Tang Zheng sat down. Seeing Fang Shishir's pained expression, he hurriedly said, "Your bones are all broken. How can it be so easy? Be good and lie down on the bed." Fang Shishir did not have any resistance to this simple and crude house. She gently helped him onto the bed and even personally took off his shoes. Tang Zheng was helpless. He could only lie on the bed and watch her busy figure. His heart felt warm. "Shishir, come over and sit for a while." He waved his hand. Fang Shishir obediently sat by his side. "Are you still angry at me?" Fang Shishir hurriedly shook her head. "No, I won't be angry at you anymore. I know you treat me well. We won't listen to other people's gossip." "Good, that's good." Tang Zheng held her hand, completely satisfied. "Bo." Fang Shishir kissed him and said, "This time you really scared me to death. You should rest well. I'll go back to school first, otherwise my mom will start screaming again." "Okay, I'll rest well." Tang Zheng hugged her waist and kissed her lips. She also responded fiercely, and only after a long while did she part with the desire to continue. "You're injured yet you're still not obedient. Rest well. Once you're better, you can do whatever you want. I'll listen to you. Fang Shishir finished speaking. Her face turned red all the way to her neck. Tang Zheng's heart beat faster as he asked, really? Guess for yourself. Fang Shishir charmingly smiled. She turned around and ran out of the door, leaving only her beautiful back. AI, it seems that I need to quickly heal and get better. Tang Zheng excitedly thought. Little brat, you're finally enlightened. Tian Chanzi once again appeared, quickly take down this little girl. The problem of your pure yang energy eruption can be temporarily solved. Eavesdropping is a bad habit. That won't do. I'm already a 4th grade refining chi cultivator. I need to practice the sealing technique. When the time comes, I'll seal you so you can't see what you shouldn't see. Tang Zheng said. Tian Chanzi indignantly shouted, little brat, do you think I'm a hoodlum? I'm a high-level cultivator. Do you think I don't understand the principle of not looking at indecent things? High-level cultivator. Humph, I think you're no different from a hoodlum. Tang Zheng retorted, quickly teach me the sealing technique and also how to use true fire to refine pills. Little brat, don't be in a hurry to cultivate. I have something important to tell you. Tian Chanzi's voice became deep and serious. What is it? Little brat, your body is strange. You know that the average person's true fire is in their dantian, but yours is in their sea of consciousness. Do you know why there is such a huge difference? Why? You and I are not the same kind of people. Nonsense, I'm a young man. You're a 1,000-year-old monster. Nonsense, I'm saying that you and I are not of the same race. Tian Chanzi said, flustered and exasperated. Not of the same race? Don't tell me you're not a human, but a monster. Don't pester me endlessly. Humans are also divided into many races. Just like how there are many races now. A long time ago, many races coexisted in an environment, but they fought with each other. In the end, only one race remained, which is the current human race. You mean I'm not a human? I don't know the specifics. After all, tens of thousands of years have passed. In short, the secret of your body must not be known to outsiders. Otherwise, you will be killed. Just like the king of medicine from before, although his skill is not very profound, after all, his medical skills are superb. If you let him examine your body, it will be easy for him to find some clues. Of course, for things that happened thousands of years ago, he certainly doesn't know, but this is also a risk that must be avoided. Do you understand? Tian Chanzi warned. Tang Zheng was dumbfounded. It was a bit difficult for him to accept this information. How did he become non-human? Chapter 100. After a long time, Tang Zheng finally digested this information, but he gradually understood that his strange body had so many secrets, and these secrets were fatal. But your race's cultivation is very abnormal, just like you, advancing by leaps and bounds. You're simply not human, oh, you're not human. Tian Chanzi sighed. Fuck, you're not human. Tang Zheng angrily said. Calm down, in fact this is not a bad thing, after all your cultivation speed is fast. As long as you have strength, even if your identity is exposed, others will not be able to do anything to you. Tian Chanzi comforted. It's not you, of course you're not worried, but what should I do now? Speed up your cultivation, become stronger before others find out your secret, the stronger the better. You and I are of the same mind, so you don't have to worry about me leaking your secret. This time you broke through to the 4th grade refining chi, I also obtained a lot of benefits. My soul has become a lot stronger, and in time I will be able to find a suitable host and be reborn. Tang Zheng's mood gradually calmed down, there was no use in worrying about this matter, so he decided to cultivate, regardless of his injuries. First was the sealing technique, Tian Chanzi reluctantly passed it on to him. He tried it several times, and it was very useful. As long as he silently recited the incantation and activated his true chi, Tian Chanzi could only shut up and be sealed. This made Tian Chanzi so angry that he cried out, scolding him for being ungrateful. How could he use him as an experiment? Tang Jing shrugged his shoulders and ignored him. In any case, there was no one else to test the sealing technique on, so he could only use Tian Chanzi to test it. In the end, Tian Chanzi could only silently protest. The next step was to use his true fire to refine pills. He took out the 9 revolving pill furnace from under the bed. The furnace was pitch black and covered with a layer of dust. For the 9 revolving pill furnace to be thrown under the bed by you, it is truly a waste. Tian Chanzi bitterly said. Tang Jing shrugged and said, this room is only so big. Where else can I put it if I don't put it under the bed? Don't talk nonsense. How should I use this thing? Circulate your power and inject your true qi into it. Tang Jing circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll and a stream of true qi flowed out from his palm into the 9 revolving pill furnace. Wang! A melodious sound echoed as the 9 revolving alchemy furnace soared into the air. Its pitch-black exterior emitted a layer of black light as it slowly rotated. This pill furnace has been covered in dust for a long time. You must first awaken its spirituality before you can refine pills. Tang Jing suddenly realized that this true qi was the method used to awaken the spiritual nature of the pill furnace. The 9 revolving pill furnace spun faster and faster until it finally turned into a black light and a little bit of blue light seeped out from the black light. It was like a piece of black cloth wrapped around a light bulb. The light from the light bulb passed through the black cloth and grew more and more. In the end, the black light disappeared and a green light filled the entire room. The melodious buzzing sound was like the sound of ancient temple bells, making people feel relaxed and happy. Stop! Tang Jing lightly waved his hand and the 9 revolving alchemy furnace stopped rotating and steadily stopped on the ground. The blue light gradually converged as its exterior underwent a tremendous change. The originally swarthy exterior had turned into a blue color and emitted a faint ancient aura. Moreover, one could clearly see that there were many birds and beasts engraved on the exterior of the pill furnace. Most of them were creatures that Tang Jing had never heard of before, so he simply did not know what they were. This is the true appearance of the 9 revolving alchemy furnace. Tian Chanzi proudly said. Tang Jing was dumbstruck. After awakening the spiritual nature of the pill furnace, it unexpectedly underwent a heaven and earth change. If it was like this during the auction, then he definitely would not have been able to obtain it. Fortunately, the treasure furnace was covered in dust, so I was able to pick it up. He rejoiced. You should be thanking me. If it wasn't for me, then you wouldn't have this kind of dog shit luck. Tian Chanzi unceremoniously boasted. But I also have bad news to tell you. What? This 9 revolving alchemy furnace has been damaged and its quality has dropped by a lot. It unexpectedly became a yellow-level treasure. Tian Chanzi regretfully said. Tang Jing turned pale with fright and said, What, didn't you say it was an earth-level treasure? Treasures were divided into 4 ranks, heaven, earth, profound, and yellow. In other words, the 9 revolving alchemy furnace actually dropped from second place to last place. Tian Chanzi awkwardly coughed and explained, wasn't it covered in dust? That's why I misjudged it. Tang Jing was speechless. Little brat, don't be so unhappy. A yellow-level treasure is more suitable for you. Do you think an earth-level treasure is so easy to control? You need to have the appropriate cultivation and enough qi. You don't have enough right now, so using a yellow-level treasure to consolidate your foundation is the right way to go. Tang Jing coldly snorted. In any case, he did not understand these things, so he could only let him say whatever he wanted. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. This was still a treasure after all. He fondly touched the 9 revolving alchemy furnace and felt extremely good. He finally had a treasure, his first treasure. Although this 9 revolving alchemy furnace has become a yellow-level treasure, it used to be an earth-level treasure. So in the future, you can find a way to repair it and turn it back into an earth-level treasure. That's possible. Of course, treasures can be upgraded. Don't you know this? Tian Chanzi proudly said. You didn't say so, how would I know? Tang Jing retorted. Tian Chanzi acted as if he did not hear and continued, when refining pills, you will draw the fire into the furnace. The refining method is the same as when you refine the life-continuing pill. Then I will first refine the spirit pill. Tang Jing impatiently said. First get the materials. Right, what materials do you need? Tian Chanzi pulled out a long list of materials. Fortunately, they were all materials that could be bought in pharmacies. Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief. Refining pills requires a guiding herb, which is the most important ingredient. The spirit pill does not require something as precious as the heaven-fragrant flower. It only needs a 300-year-old ginseng. 300-year-old? Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. Even if he did not understand the market, he knew that 300-year-old ginseng was not easy to find. It was a treasure that could only be found by chance. Tian Chanzi actually said that it was not precious and was sloppy. It's only 300-year-old. You should know that there were many thousand-year-old ginseng. What is this, country bumpkin, making a fuss about nothing? Tian Chanzi said disapprovingly. That was in ancient times. You also know that the spiritual energy is thin now. Where would you find this 300-year-old ginseng? Tang Zheng was very depressed. Heaven never bars one's way. Let's find it. Moreover, don't you still have 900,000 left? Use this money to buy it. Buy my ass. 300-year-old ginseng. You want to buy it with 900,000? Dream on. Tian Chanzi laughed and said, then that is not my problem. In any case, I have already told you the recipe. Tang Zheng was worried about the ginseng. On the other hand, the king of medicine was shocked by the news he heard. He never would have thought that this strange youth was actually that mysterious godly doctor. Suddenly, he became even more interested in Tang Zheng. He wanted to slice him up and study him carefully. It was really too shocking. Senior King of Medicine, at that time I promised Tang Zheng that this matter would not be spread, so please do not tell too many people. When the time comes, just arrange for your old friend to treat him. Mu Hongyan said. I will definitely keep it a secret. Since his medical skills are so high, then I will find a chance to compare notes with him. The King of Medicine said excitedly. He then impatiently contacted Yi Xuanji and told him that he had found the godly doctor. He would bring him to visit the godly doctor tomorrow. Yi Xuanji was very excited. There was finally a glimmer of hope. After Yi Tianlei heard the news, he was also very happy. The next day, he drove Yi Xuanji and the King of Medicine to their destination. Yi Xuanji looked out the window. Although his expression was very calm, there was still a strange expression on his face. The King of Medicine understood his feelings. He patted him on the shoulder and said, Old brother, I think your hope is on this person. This person is too mysterious. Even I don't know the details. Who is this person? How come I have never heard of him? Yi Xuanji asked curiously. A rising star. It is true that the new generation excels the old. Anyway, this time I have learned something new. I can't miss a single detail later. Who knows, maybe my medical skills will also improve by leaps and bounds. The King of Medicine was not stingy with his praise and said expectantly. Yi Xuanji had never seen the King of Medicine praise someone so much. His confidence increased a lot. Why is this place getting more and more desolate? Does the godly doctor really live here? Yi Xuanji looked at the row upon row of low buildings. There was no bustling city center at all. The King of Medicine took a look and felt a little strange. However, this was the address he got from Fang Shishir, so it shouldn't be wrong. Maybe he likes to live in seclusion. The King of Medicine casually explained. However, when their car stopped in front of the low bungalow, the three of them had a weird expression. The surroundings were really too dilapidated. How did it look like a place where a godly doctor lived? It looked more like a place where a garbage collector lived. They didn't guess wrong. Tang Zheng's family originally made a living by collecting garbage. The three of them looked at each other and were a little confused. However, since they were already here, they had to make things clear. Yi Tianlei walked straight to the door and saw an old man walk out. "Sir, may I ask?" Yi Tianlei's words stopped abruptly. It was as if someone had stuck his throat. He stared straight at the old man in front of him. "Are you Tang Zheng's grandfather?" Yi Tianlei asked in disbelief. He had seen Tang Dehai before. At that time, Tang Dehai was lifeless and his vitality was almost exhausted. Moreover, he was very old. However, although the person in front of him looked very similar to Tang Dehai, his vitality was very different. Even the wrinkles on his face were not as many. Yi Tianlei even suspected that this person was Tang Dehai's younger brother. Tang Dehai looked at the three of them suspiciously and asked, "I am. Who are you looking for?" Yi Tianlei was even more incredulous when he heard the confirmation. When Tang Zheng said that his grandfather had recovered, he didn't believe it. However, when he saw the real person, he knew that he had really recovered. This kind of vitality was definitely not that of a patient. One must know that Tang Dehai was a person who was judged by the doctor to not have many days left to live. However, the truth was in front of him and he had to believe it. Before Yi Tianlei could answer, the king of medicine rushed to Tang Dehai as if he had seen a delicious cake. Chapter 101. The king of medicine held on to Tang Dehai's wrist. His expression became strange as he muttered to himself, "Magical, too magical, a withered tree rejuvenated, full of life. This medical skill is too magical. This old man is ashamed of his inferiority." Sogu, 360. So search free download of novels. The few people were shocked by the king of medicine, but when they heard him muttering to himself, they were deeply shocked. Especially Yi Xuanji. He had known the king of medicine for most of his life, but he had never seen him say words of inferiority to anyone. The king of medicine had always been the one standing at the top, others could not even look up to him, but he actually took the initiative to admit his inferiority. This was too inconceivable. But Yi Xuanji suddenly had a greater hope. This showed that the godly doctor was brilliant. Maybe he really could be saved. Tang Dehai looked at him blankly and asked, "Excuse me, what's the matter?" The king of medicine looked at Tang Dehai excitedly and said, "Did you have a serious illness in the past, and your life was almost cut off, but in the end, you were cured by someone with magical medical skills?" Tang Dehai was shocked and said, "I was sick before, but the doctor in the hospital cured me, and now I feel like I have endless energy." "Which doctor?" "This I don't know, you'll have to ask my grandson." "Little Zheng, quickly come out," Tang Dehai shouted. Tang Zheng had long heard the commotion outside, especially the king of medicine. He knew that he must have brought a patient here, and thought that since he had to treat his but as soon as possible, he walked out. But when he saw Yi Xuanji and Yi Tianlei, his gaze turned cold. What were they doing here? Suddenly, his heart moved, remembering that Yi Tianlei wanted him to treat Yi Xuanji's illness. Could it be that the king of medicine's old friend was Yi Tianlei? He instantly figured out the details, and his face naturally became ugly. He nodded towards Yi Tianlei and asked, "Uncle Yi, why are you here?" Yi Tianlei smiled and said, "Senior king of medicine found a godly doctor, so I brought my father here to seek treatment." Yi Xuanji coldly looked at Tang Zheng. "Why is this brat here again?" Because Tang Zheng messed up the marriage he arranged for Yi Dingdang, he did not have a good impression of Tang Zheng. "Oh, there's no genius doctor here. You've come to the wrong place," Tang Zheng lightly said. However, the king of medicine was one step ahead of him. He walked up to Tang Zheng and laughed. "If I still had doubts yesterday, I really have no doubts at all after seeing this old man today. Xuanji, my old friend, your illness will be in the hands of this miracle-working doctor." Yi Xuanji followed the king of medicine's finger and saw that it was pointing at Tang Zheng. Even though Yi Xuanji had been through countless hardships, he almost tripped at this moment. "Are you kidding me? How could the genius doctor be this brat?" Yi Tianlei was stunned for a moment, and then he suddenly realized. He believed in Tang Zheng's skills. It was really like searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. In the end, it still fell on Tang Zheng's head. Huh, Tang Zheng, so the genius doctor senior king of medicine was talking about is you. I was wondering when another genius doctor appeared in ordinary balance. So it was you, brat. I've seen your medical skills before, so you can definitely do it. Yi Tianlei laughed. The king of medicine curiously turned his head and looked at Yi Tianlei. He asked, "You've seen his medical skills before?" "Of course, he helped me open up my meridians. That's why I was able to break through the bottleneck of innate stage." Yi Tianlei explained. The king of medicine's eyes lit up. He praised, "So there's such a thing. Since you know his medical skills, why didn't you ask him to treat your father earlier? This time, if it wasn't for a freak combination of factors, we really wouldn't have been able to find this genius doctor." This. Yi Tianlei's expression stiffened. He glanced at his father. Wasn't it because Yi Xuanji rejected Tang Zheng? Otherwise, why would he go through so much trouble? Yi Xuanji's face was filled with embarrassment. He hadn't had this expression for many years. As a person of high status, he had always been resolute and decisive. Others had to look at his face when they did things. When had he ever been so embarrassed? He really wanted to find a hole to hide in. However, Yi Xuanji wasn't an ordinary person. He coughed and softened his tone. "There's a bit of a misunderstanding." The king of medicine glanced at the few people and understood that there must be some inside story. He quickly laughed and acted as a peacemaker, saying, "Since it's a misunderstanding, let's just let it go. Now that we found the genius Dr. Tang Zheng, all the problems will be solved." Tang Zheng sneered and unexpectedly said, "Misunderstanding? Why don't I think it's a misunderstanding?" Tang Zheng's cold attitude made the few people's expressions change. Especially Yi Xuanji. Being bullied by a junior like this made the veins on his forehead bulge. Of course, Tang Zheng saw his reaction, but didn't take it seriously. He said to the king of medicine and Yi Tianlei, "Senior king of medicine, Uncle Yi, if you don't mind, please come in and have a seat." The king of medicine had already heard some clues. It seemed that this misunderstanding wasn't small, and Tang Zheng deliberately didn't invite Yi Xuanji to embarrass him. In this world, the only people who dared to embarrass Yi Xuanji, other than those old guys, had never dared to challenge Yi Xuanji's dignity. This Tang Zheng was really getting more and more interesting. Yi Xuanji's face was gloomy. He was about to flip out. This was a blatant disregard and a slap in the face. Yi Tianlei looked at his father awkwardly. Tang Zheng acted as if he didn't see it and turned around to go back into the house. At this moment, Tang Dehai seemed to have lost his soul. When did his grandson become a godly doctor? How come he didn't know? Moreover, these people seemed to have an extraordinary status and they were so respectful towards Tang Zheng. He also felt a sense of pride. Seeing the awkward atmosphere, he immediately realized that there was a problem. Even though Tang Dehai picked up trash for a living, he still had the survival wisdom of a lower-class citizen. He wasn't an idiot, so he quickly invited them in. "Come in and sit. The house is a bit narrow, so don't mind." Would there be anyone who would dare to mind? Seeing Tang Zheng's attitude, if anyone dared to say even half a word of disdain, they would definitely be mercilessly kicked out. After all, these three people were much more cultured than Shi Mengqin. Even though this simple environment was incompatible with them, they still entered the house. Yi Xuanji also took advantage of the situation and followed in. "Little Zheng, quickly pour water for the guests," Tang Dehai ordered. Tang Zheng wouldn't go against his grandfather's wishes and poured water for the three people. "I'm really sorry, we don't have tea at home, so we can only drink water," Tang Dehai said apologetically. As a simple and honest old man, if there were guests in the house, he would naturally want to use the best things to greet them. If he didn't treat them well, he would feel especially embarrassed. This was the most simple way of thinking for a normal person. No need to go through so much trouble. Yi Tianlei drank a mouthful and awkwardly laughed. He had no idea how today's situation would develop. Yi Xuanji was like a wooden person. He didn't even touch the cup with his finger. His two eyes stared straight ahead without any expression. The king of medicine laughed and took the initiative to break the silence, saying, "Yesterday I didn't have a good chat with this little friend. Today we must chat to our heart's content." Tang Zheng said without batting an eyelid, "Senior king of medicine, you are the titan of the medical world and I am just an insignificant high school student. I don't think we have anything in common." That's not necessarily true. My thoughts are not pedantic and I am also very interested in learning about you young people. Moreover, we are both people who study medicine. In terms of professional knowledge, there are many things that we can discuss. The king of medicine said disapprovingly. "I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. In terms of medical knowledge, I only know a little. Compared to the average medical student, I'm much worse." "I'm sorry to disappoint you," Tang Zheng said honestly. He studied alchemy and not the various diseases of medical school. The king of medicine obviously didn't believe him and thought that the other was being modest. He said, "Little friend is too modest. Just based on the fact that you cured your grandfather, Tianlei and Nana, you are already worthy of the title of godly doctor." Tang Dehai had been in a daze the entire time. When he heard that his illness was actually cured by Tang Zheng, he looked at him in confusion. It was just an accident. Tang Zheng didn't take the credit. The king of medicine slowly shook his head and sighed. It's rare to have such ability at such a young age and not be arrogant and complacent. It's too rare. If I had such a successor, even if I died, would have no regrets. Although the king of medicine's medical skills were superb, he didn't have a successor. These years, he had been running around looking for a successor, but he couldn't find a suitable candidate. Yi Tianlei's eyelids twitched as he looked eagerly at Tang Zheng. It seemed that he wanted Tang Zheng to agree to be the disciple of the king of medicine. This was an opportunity that many people who studied medicine dreamed of. But Tang Zheng turned a blind eye and didn't seem to be moved at all. The king of medicine squeezed out a lonely smile and said, "But I can see the legendary life-continuing pill before I die. This already makes me have no regrets." Tang Zheng didn't change his expression. Since the other party came looking for him, he obviously knew about the life-continuing pill. So he said, "Since you know about the life-continuing pill, then just say it. This is all because of the life-continuing pill, it has nothing to do with me." Hearing that the other party directly admitted the existence of the life-continuing pill, the king of medicine couldn't suppress his excitement and asked nervously, "Do you still have it? Can I take a look?" This was like a child seeing his favorite toy and wanted to look at it. Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment, then took out a porcelain bottle from his pocket and handed it to the king of medicine. The king of medicine's body suddenly sat up straight. He stretched out his hands and carefully took the porcelain bottle. His face was serious and solemn, just like a religious disciple holding a holy object. The others couldn't help but be attracted by the porcelain bottle. They stared at it without blinking, especially Yi Xuanji. Even his breathing became a little chaotic. They didn't know what the life-continuing pill was, but if it could make the king of medicine so serious, then it must be something extraordinary. Tang Zheng didn't look sideways. His eyes looked straight ahead as if the porcelain bottle was nothing in his eyes. Comparing the two, Tang Zheng's aura was clearly much higher than the others. Tian Chanzi said with disdain, "It's just a life-continuing pill. Why are they making it so grand? They really are a group of country bumpkins who haven't seen the world." Chapter 102. The king of medicine slowly placed the bottle in his palm and slightly tilted it. A perfectly round pill rolled into his palm. It was sparkling and translucent, emitting a faint fragrance like a pearl. The king of medicine's eyes stared straight at the life-continuing pill. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and excitedly said, "This is the life-continuing pill." Everyone else also focused their attention, especially Yi Xuanji. He had already determined the effects of this pill from the 3 words life-continuing pill. His hand subconsciously grabbed onto the chair as his veins bulged, revealing his true feelings. Yi Tianlei praised, "This life-continuing pill is really beautiful. What does it do? Since it's called the life-continuing pill, of course it's used to extend life. The king of medicine said as he looked at Tang Zheng, as if he wanted to ask for confirmation. Tang Zheng nodded and said, this life-continuing pill can extend one's life by 10 years. Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, especially the king of medicine, Yi Xuanji, and Yi Tianlei. The three of them were all too clear on what this meant. Other people said that the king of medicine had the ability to revive the dead and regrow flesh and bones, but that was just an exaggeration. But this life-continuing pill was truly miraculous. It could extend one's life by 10 years. Just how precious was this pill? It simply couldn't be measured with money. There were so many rich and powerful people in the world. If they could extend their lives by 10 years, they would be willing to go bankrupt. Who wouldn't want to live? Everyone's hearts began to beat wildly. Yi Xuanji's fingers almost sunk into the wood of the chair. He desired the life-continuing pill the most because he didn't have much time left. If he wanted to live, he would even steal it. But in front of his life, what was stealing? The king of medicine's breathing also became hurried. Seeing this legendary pill, he even had the urge to swallow it. He took a deep breath and put the life-continuing pill back into the porcelain bottle. Everyone's eyes were attracted to the porcelain bottle. For a long time, they were unwilling to move away until Tang Zheng casually put the porcelain bottle back into his pocket. What was a priceless treasure in the eyes of others was like a small toy to him, and he was not as cautious as the others. This comparison made the others feel that Tang Zheng was even more unfathomable. Even Yi Tianlei, who was very familiar with Tang Zheng, couldn't help but change his impression of Tang Zheng. May I ask, how is this life-continuing pill made? The king of medicine took a deep breath and asked. He felt that this question was very presumptuous. How could he tell others how to make such a priceless treasure? Of course, Tang Zheng knew the method, but how could he say it? He wouldn't even tell anyone that he was the one who refined it. He understood the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. So, he directly shook his head and said, I don't know. The king of medicine couldn't hide the disappointment on his face and said, then who gave it to you? Someone else. Is it your master? Yi Tianlei asked. He still had a deep impression of Tang Zheng's mysterious master. Tang Zheng laughed inwardly and nodded seriously, yes. Godly doctor, your master must be a godly doctor, an expert. The king of medicine exclaimed. Heaven Monk chuckled and said, this brat still knows how to talk. He knows that my abilities are great. In his eyes, the medicine king who was over 70 years old was just a brat. Narcissist. Tang Zheng choked him. I want to pay a visit to your master, may I? The king of medicine was really like a religious pilgrim, respectful and reverent. How could Tang Zheng make a groundless master out of nowhere? He directly shook his head, no, my master travels the world, I don't even know where to find him. The king of medicine's face dimmed. He shook his head and sighed, what a pity, such an expert, if I could get a few pointers from him, my medical skills would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Then how many life-continuing pills do you have? Yi Xuanji finally couldn't help but ask. Right now, he only had eyes for the life-continuing pill. This was a treasure that could save his life. Tang Zheng gave him a playful look and said, there's only one. Only one? Yi Xuanji couldn't hide his disappointment. If there were a few more pills, it would increase his lifespan by a few decades. Then the Ye family would definitely suppress the other families and become the #1 family. At any time, Yi Xuanji would always consider the interests of his family. The king of medicine looked at Yi Xuanji and hesitantly asked, little friend, there is a problem with grandfather Ye's cultivation, so he needs the life-continuing pill to pass this stage. I wonder if you can give the pill to him. Of course, there is a price. You sold it to Nana for 200,000, I believe the Ye family won't sell it for less than that. Yi Xuanji was shocked. A single life-continuing pill was only sold for 200,000 gold coins, this price was a bit too low. But at this time, he didn't think too much about it, the most important thing was to obtain the life-continuing pill, so he waved his hand and boldly said, 2 million, sell the life-continuing pill to me. Actually, he could give a higher price, but the other pill was only sold for 200,000. If the price was too high, he was worried that Tang Zheng would raise the price and have the opposite effect. Tang Zheng gave a low laugh and said, what a big deal, 2 million. Yi Xuanji was full of confidence. 2 million, many people wouldn't be able to earn that much in their lifetime. For a high school student, the temptation was self-evident. Yi Xuanji's face was extremely gloomy as he asked, why? Tang Zheng glanced at him and bluntly said, how you treated me before, you know it yourself. Moreover, why would I save someone who doesn't even care about his own granddaughter's happiness? I'm doing this for the benefit of the family. What do you know? Tang Zheng laughed, for the benefit of the family, you can sacrifice your family's happiness. Very good, so this is the so-called family. I've really learned something. Then what's the point of staying in this kind of family? If it was me, I would leave this kind of family as far as possible. Yi Xuanji's eyes were already red. He was angry and was about to flip out. Tang Zheng didn't seem to notice. He even looked at him and said, what, you want to steal it? Of course I'm not your opponent. If you want to steal it, I can't do anything. However, this just proves the hypocrisy and evil of people like you. Tang Zheng's eloquence was pretty good. He made Yi Xuanji speechless. It was because Tang Zheng held the moral high ground that Yi Xuanji couldn't refute. Ignorant brat, arrogant. I am arrogant. I'm not even a member of your family. What can you do about me? Tang Zheng was really arrogant. Yi Tianlei broke out in a cold sweat. He never dared to speak to his father like this. If you don't want to steal it, then forgive me for not seeing you off. Tang Zheng directly asked him to leave. Yi Xuanji looked at Tang Zheng coldly. His murderous intent was exposed. He really felt like he was going to kill and steal it. However, Tang Zheng still had a smile on his face and didn't move. Let's go. Suddenly, Yi Xuanji turned around and left. Yi Tianlei let out a long sigh. He nodded at Tang Zheng and chased after him. The king of medicine looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. He didn't know what to say. After thinking for a while, he said, if you are interested in learning from each other, I'm happy to. Moreover, your body is special. If you have any questions, you can come to me. The next time you see your master, I hope you can introduce him to me. Since Tang Zheng wasn't a real genius doctor, there was no need for the king of medicine to continue the conversation. Moreover, they couldn't talk in this kind of atmosphere. However, he still couldn't forget his mysterious master. Seeing the three people leave, Tang Zheng didn't regret it. However, when he saw his grandfather's complicated expression, he knew that he had too many questions. Moreover, he didn't know what his grandfather would think of his actions just now. So far, the person Tang Zheng cared about the most was his grandfather. He cared about his attitude the most. Tang Dahai smiled kindly and patted Tang Zheng's shoulder. He had something to say. Chapter 103. Little Zheng, no matter what you do, Grandpa will support you. Moreover, Grandpa is very happy that you don't bend over backwards for money. Grandpa doesn't have much ability, but I still rely on my own hard work to earn money. I won't rely on charity to take so much money. Tang Dahai earnestly said. Even though he wasn't very educated, his simple heart was much more valuable than many nobles. Grandpa, I understand. Our family doesn't lack money, but the key is that I don't like this person. Many of his methods make me feel disgusted. Tang Zheng explained. Tang Dahai nodded his head and said, Little Zheng, you have your own standards. This is a good thing. Grandpa won't say anything about this matter, but a person must have a benevolent heart. If it is within our power to help, then we should still do it. I understand. I know that a lot of things have happened to you recently. If it is convenient, can you tell Grandpa? Let Grandpa know what's going on. Grandpa can't give you too much advice, but I hope that we can share some of your difficulties. Tang Jing felt his head warm. After thinking for a bit, he told himself a part of the story. He did not mention his entanglements with the underworld. He only said that he had a fortuitous encounter, learned martial arts, and was able to refine pills. So the life-continuing pill was refined by you. Tang Dahai's face brimmed with pride. Yes, refining this pill isn't complicated. The key is that the ingredients are too hard to find. Did you give me one? Tang Dahai wasn't stupid. Connecting this to his own changes, he came to this conclusion. Tang Jing did not deny it. So it was like that. I was wondering why my body suddenly became better. Grandpa, sorry, I hid this from you. Tang Dahai rubbed his head and said with a smile, silly child, who doesn't have a secret? Moreover, your secret is so important. If others knew, then it would bring danger. You should be careful. Actually, Grandpa should thank you for letting me live for another 10 years. I can watch you go to university and start a family. Saying this, his face was filled with gratification and happiness. Tang Dahai didn't have too many goals. This was his life's goal. Tang Zhang's happiness was his happiness. Tang Zhang's heart skipped a beat. He was determined to find a way to let his grandfather continue to live and accompany him for the next 10 years. Since Tang Zhang was a cultivator, his lifespan was naturally much longer than an ordinary person's. He couldn't bear to see his grandfather leave him after 10 years. Yi Xuanji returned to the Yi clan in a flustered and exasperated manner. Yi Tianlei carefully followed behind, afraid that he would trigger his anger. Bang! Yi Xuanji slammed his palm on Wang Wali's desk. Visible cracks spread out from the center of his palm. With a crash, the desk broke into pieces and fell to the ground. Feng Xinyang just happened to come in and see this scene, and was shocked. This anger was too great. She looked at her husband. Yi Tianlei shook his head with a bitter face, which made Feng Xinyang very puzzled. Didn't they go out to find the godly doctor? How did it become like this? Arrogant brat, I'm going to kill him. Yi Xuanji angrily roared. A whirlwind rose from the bottom of his feet, and the sawdust on the ground flew up, forming a strong killing intent. In an instant, the whole room was filled with an oppressive aura, causing people to tremble in fear. Father, calm down. Tang Zheng must have been confused for a moment. Wait for him to think it through. Yi Tianlei quickly advised. Confused for a moment? Humph, he is purposely targeting me. When have I ever been played by a brat like him? I must let him know how powerful I am. The dignity of the Ya family cannot be challenged. Yi Xuanji murderously said. Yi Tianlei swallowed his saliva, and continued to persuade. Father, I will go and persuade him. I believe he will agree after he calms down. Didn't you hear what he said? He can use the life-continuing pill to save you all, but he won't save me. This was what made Yi Xuanji angry the most. This was clearly a slap to his face. As the head of the Ya family, he was too much of a failure. Just what is going on? Why is it related to Tang Jing again? Feng Xinyang was confused. Yi Tianlei was at a loss of what to do, so he quickly whispered to his wife what had happened. Feng Xinyang was dumbstruck, but her heart was bursting with joy. She secretly said, I knew that this little handsome brother was not ordinary. To think that he was so handsome, so domineering. This old lady's eyes are really good. I cannot give up on this son-in-law. I must win him over. Yi Tianlei looked at his wife's expression and guessed what she was thinking. He bitterly smiled and said, Don't think about these messy things for now. How to get through this crisis is the most important thing. The old man urgently needs the life-continuing pill. We must think of a way to make Tang Jing relent. I don't have that ability. Isn't the old man the head of the family? Let him make his own decisions. Feng Xinyang gloated. She really didn't have a good impression of her father-in-law. Looking at his wife who wished for the world to be in chaos, Yi Tianlei felt a headache, and said, Feng Xinyang, quickly think of a way, don't add fuel to the fire. Don't you know the old man's temper? If he really does make a move, then Tang Zheng will be in danger. Feng Xinyang thought that this was indeed the case. Yi Xuanji was determined to get the life-continuing pill. If he makes a move, then it will be a killing move. Although Tang Zheng has a mysterious master, he is not by his side, so how can he block Yi Xuanji's attack? I can't handle this matter, so let Ding Dang do it. Is there any use for her to do it? Heng, you're looking down on our daughter, she's more useful than you. Feng Xinyang's mouth hooked up into a faint smile, and immediately went to another room to call Yi Dingdang's cell phone. It just so happened that class had ended, so the mother and daughter began to whisper to each other, only to hear Yi Dingdang scream out, "How is this possible? Hi hey, you didn't think that this little handsome brother would be that godly doctor, and he even has the life-continuing pill, this kind of heaven-defying treasure, this old mother's eyes aren't wrong. His guts are too big, daring to treat the old man like that." Yi Dingdang said in disbelief. This is called domineering, do you understand? Men need to be domineering, only then can they have a manly spirit, unlike those Xiaobai whose face doesn't even have the strength to truss up a chicken, where even the wind can blow them away. Feng Xinyang sincerely praised, this kind of domineering little handsome brother is really too rare. If I was 20 years younger, I would have chased after him. Hey, Feng Xinyang, aren't you ashamed, saying these kinds of words? Yi Dingdang was really speechless towards this mother of hers. Hi hey, it's just a hypothetical, what are you so nervous about? Relax, he is your man, so how could I steal my daughter's man? Feng Xinyang, can you not speak nonsense? Okay, let's talk about serious matters, your chance has come, do you understand? Feng Xinyang's face was full of smiles, as she said in all seriousness. Yi Dingdang was a little confused, what chance? Didn't you want to completely break off the marriage with Song Yu? I don't have a marriage with him, that was arranged by the old man himself, I won't acknowledge it. Yi Dingdang firmly said. But you have to get past the old man, only by making him relent, this is the fastest and best way to solve this problem. Yi Dingdang was silent, she had to admit that Feng Xinyang's words were true, although she could use Tang Zheng to cause trouble. The old man was determined to facilitate this marriage, then Yi Dingdang would be in a very passive position. What to do specifically, you tell me. Hi hey, be good, listen to this old mother, it will definitely succeed. Don't keep me in suspense. Feng Xinyang immediately gave her instructions and Yi Dingdang continuously nodded her head. In the end, she was overjoyed, this will definitely work. You must do it as soon as possible. Go to Tang Zheng's house after school, understand? I'll send you the address later. Be smart, this is your chance, don't be like a silly girl, you see that Feng Shishir is so proactive, her family is so against it, but she is determined to throw herself at the little handsome guy, and this old mother is your strong backing. If you still can't take down Tang Zheng, then this old mother's face will be completely lost by you. Okay, stop being so fussy, you really are going through menopause. Yi Dingdang impatiently said. How is this old mother going through menopause? This old mother is still very young, and as beautiful as a flower. Damn girl, you're just jealous of my charm, tell me clearly. Before she finished speaking, Yi Dingdang had already hung up the phone. Tang Zheng did not pay much attention to what Yi Xuanji would do, no matter what the other party did, he would not sit still and wait for death, he was no longer that bookworm who only knew how to read books. At this moment, he was moving forward step by step. Lin, whose little brother Dong Zi, was leading the way. After being taught a lesson by Tang Zheng, he became very obedient, but this time he hurriedly ran to Tang Zheng for help, even his clothes were stained with blood. It was said that Lin Hu and Big Head Fan were fighting in a small forest on the outskirts of the city. Big Head Fan took the initiative to challenge Lin Hu to a fight. Over 100 underlings from both sides fought fiercely. Boss Fan's power was originally slightly stronger than Lin Hu's, but the key point was that he was a third-grade refining body, a level higher than Lin Hu's cultivation level. So the battle situation was not optimistic. In the end, Lin Hu could only let his clever little brother Dong Zi run to Tang Zheng for help. Tang Zheng and Lin Hu's friendship was not bad, but with Boss Fan he had old enmity and new hatred. Today he would settle it all together. He already knew that Boss Fan went to the hospital to assassinate him, and also almost hurt Fang Shishir, this grudge was completely formed. Last time he let him go, but he did not expect that he would not change his evil nature. This time he would definitely not let him go. Dong Zi, hurry up, your boss will be in more danger if we are late. Tang Zheng urged. Dong Zi's head was full of sweat, he could only grit his teeth and follow Tang Zheng's footsteps. In the distance, bursts of fighting sounds could be heard. This was a small forest in the suburbs. It was deserted. It was indeed suitable for fighting, even the police would not care. In the distance, Tang Zheng saw that the two groups of people were still fighting, but it was obvious that one side was at a disadvantage, retreating little by little. Hurry up and follow, I will go first. Tang Zheng tiptoed, like a rabbit jumping like a falcon landing. In an instant he was several meters away, causing Dong Zi to be speechless. Tang Zheng was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye he arrived at the battlefield. Both sides were fighting with all their might. They did not even notice him. He frowned. The fighting on the streets was far crueler than he imagined. Chapter 104. The ground was splattered with blood. Severed arms were scattered on the ground, mixed with mud and weeds. The wounded were screaming on the side. This was the first time Tang Zheng had seen such a bloody scene, but he did not feel uncomfortable at all. Instead, his blood began to flow faster, and he felt a restless feeling. Sogu, 360, so, his adrenaline was rapidly secreting, and his mind was highly focused. He swept his gaze around and locked onto his targets, Lin Hu and Boss Fan. At this moment, both of them were holding machetes in their hands, and the blades were stained with blood. Both of them had wounds on their bodies, but Lin Hu's injuries were clearly more serious. He was limping, and although he was doing his best to resist, he was already showing signs of decline. Boss Fan came down from above, and his machete fiercely chopped down. Lin Hu took advantage of the situation to lower his body, and wanted to dodge, but Boss Fan laughed sinisterly. The momentum of his machete suddenly changed, and in a flash, he chopped towards Lin Hu's back. Lin Hu wanted to block with his machete, but it was already too late. Blood splattered everywhere, and Boss Fan's machete cut open a large wound on Lin Hu's back, causing his muscles to bulge. Lin Hu groaned in pain, but he did not sit still and wait for death. He took advantage of the situation to jump, and narrowly avoided the opponent's attack. Looking at this dangerous scene, the little brother beside him couldn't help at all. He could only let out a roar of unwillingness. Not greater than Tang Zheng moved. His feet flashed, and he rushed past one of the men. But when the man saw someone suddenly appear, he did not even think and chopped down with his machete. Tang Zheng did not even look, and casually waved his hand. With a kacha sound, the man's wrist was broken, and the machete fell to the ground. The other man saw this, and with a wave of his machete, he chopped the man to the ground. These two groups of people had different armbands on their arms to distinguish them. The black armbands were Boss Fan's people, the blue armbands were Lin Hu's people, and the one who wanted to chop Tang Zheng up was Boss Fan's little brother. In front of Tang Zheng, another two lackeys who were fighting each other blocked his path. He locked onto the lackey with the black armband and gave him a flying kick. With a crack, the lackey's shin broke, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground in an instant. Then, he was slashed to the ground again by his opponent, crying like a ghost and howling like a wolf. Tang Zheng had knocked down 7 of Big Head Fan's lackeys in just a dozen meters. Many people had already noticed this Chen Yao Jin who had appeared out of nowhere. Many people wanted to chase after him, but they couldn't. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the center of the battlefield. Lin Hu dodged the saber in a sorry state. His body was wounded again, and blood splattered everywhere. However, Lin Hu was still the boss. He clenched his teeth and did not give up. If he gave up, he would lose. If he lost, it would mean that all his hard work over the past few decades would be for naught. Lin Hu, you're about to die, yet you still don't want to surrender? Hee, you must be counting on that brat Tang Zheng to save you. Let me tell you, young Master Huang has already killed him, so you can stop daydreaming. Boss Fan had a feeling of exaltation. After leaving Huang Xiang's villa that night, he was certain that Tang Zheng would die without a doubt. Therefore, he didn't ask for confirmation. Instead, he gathered his lackeys and impatiently sent a letter of challenge to Lin Hu. The two groups of people pulled each other to the outskirts of the city and fought to the death. Whoever left standing would be the victor. This was the law of the underworld. Whoever had the bigger fist would be the boss, and their benefits would be greater. Moreover, this kind of letter of challenge was the most direct and easiest way to gain the approval of others. Ordinary balance wasn't limited to Lin Hu and Boss Fan's group. Others were also eyeing them covetously. Boss Fan was very confident. If he defeated Lin Hu in this way, then he would go to Lin Hu's territory and plant his flag. That would be his territory. This kind of method was called basking in the sun. It was to bask in the sun and then fight to the death. The winner would be the king, and the loser would be the bandit. Boss Fan, don't be arrogant. If you say Brother Tang is dead, then he's dead. Who do you think you are? Huang Xiang wants to kill him. Humph, dream on. Don't you know that Huang Xiang suffered a loss at his hands? Lin Hu grinned and retorted while enduring the pain. Boss Fan's heart trembled. He still didn't know that Huang Xiang suffered a loss at Tang Zheng's hands. However, these matters of the past were not important. The important thing was that Tang Zheng was dead. I see that you won't cry until you see the coffin. Then I'll send you to accompany him on the road to the Yellow Springs. Boss Fan stomped on the ground and soared into the air. Using the momentum of his fall, he fiercely chopped down at Lin Hu. Lin Hu hurriedly used his blade to block. Suddenly, he saw Tang Zheng behind Boss Fan. He was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. Boss Fan obviously didn't notice that there was an extra person behind him. Seeing that Lin Hu was about to be chopped down, Lin Hu seemed to be possessed and didn't move an inch. He didn't even try to block. Boss Fan was overjoyed and roared, "Lin Hu, accept your death." Bang! Before the chopping blade could fall, a strong force came from behind him. He directly flew over Lin Hu's head and fell flat on his face. F***ck, who sneak attacked me. Boss Fan reacted quickly. He pushed his palms against the ground and flipped over. He angrily glared at the attacker. Boss Fan, didn't you say that I was dead? Do you think I'm a human or a ghost? Tang Zheng asked with a murderous look. Boss Fan was so scared that his eyes were wide open. He cried out in alarm, "Why aren't you dead? It won't be that easy to kill me." Lin Hu was pleasantly surprised. Originally, when he saw Boss Fan's solemn vow and even brought out Huang Xiang, he almost believed that Tang Zheng was dead. But now it was clear that it was all nonsense. With Tang Zheng here, he would definitely win. "Brother Tang, you're finally here." Tang Zheng lightly nodded and said, "You rest for a bit. I'll deal with him. He tried to assassinate me before, so I'll settle the score with him now. He has big dog guts. He actually dares to try and assassinate you." Lin Hu angrily said. Boss Fan's eyes spun around, but he couldn't find a way to dissolve the hatred. It was clear that Tang Zheng wouldn't let him go. He gathered his courage and loudly roared, F***ck, Tang Zheng, don't think that I'm afraid of you. You're awesome, right? Today, I have dozens of brothers. I'll definitely chop you into pieces. Boss Fan brought over 80 people while Lin Hu only brought over 60. After this fierce battle, Boss Fan still had 34 brothers standing, so he had the confidence to do so. But Lin Hu wasn't someone to be trifled with. He said, "Lin Hu, do you think that my 20 to 30 brothers are just decorations? Brothers, chop them up for me. Chop them up and Boss Fan's territory will be ours." Lin Hu's little brothers all responded loudly. Since their boss was so passionate, they naturally wouldn't hold him back. Tang Zheng looked at Boss Fan with ridicule and said, "Is this what you meant by chop me into pieces?" "I don't think so." Boss Fan subconsciously took a step back and said, "Tang Zheng, don't be complacent. Young Master Huang is nearby. Young Master Huang has already mastered his godly technique. If you dare to act rashly, then you're dead. Then call him out. If you can't call him out, then I can only deal with you. Tang Jing coldly laughed. Boss Fan panicked. Huang Xiang wasn't even here. He was just deliberately mystifying things. But he still braced himself and said, "Is young Master Huang someone you can see just because you want to? If you obediently surrender, then young Master Huang may let you live." "Huh, you only know how to blabber. As a boss, you're too weak." Tang Jing stretched out his hand and directly attacked. After 2 days of recuperation, he unceasingly circulated his energy to heal his injuries. His broken ribs were almost completely healed, so it didn't affect his fighting ability. This time, he didn't use Transcendent Flying Immortal. Firstly, dealing with Boss Fan didn't require such exquisite martial arts. Secondly, last time he used it in front of Qin Lao. It attracted the attention of the other party, who even left ordinary balance overnight. This gave him a new understanding of Transcendent Flying Immortal. This sword technique was too powerful. If it fell into the eyes of others, it might not be a good thing. So he temporarily used the Heaven Gathering Hand. In any case, he was very familiar with the Heaven Gathering Hand. When he used it, the sky was filled with hand shadows. In the blink of an eye, he attacked in front of Boss Fan. Boss Fan raised his blade and chopped down. His blade technique wasn't bad. It was very methodical. Moreover, it was powerful and heavy. Its power was definitely not small. Tang Jing didn't dodge. He raised one hand and blocked the other's wrist, making it impossible for the blade to come down. His other hand quickly slapped towards Boss Fan's chest. Boss Fan was shocked and hurriedly retreated. He slashed his blade in front of his chest, wanting to block Tang Zheng's hand. However, with a flash of his hand, Tang Zheng's hand went past his blade and slapped his chest with both palms. Pooh! Boss Fan spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest instantly caved in. He attacked with his back in an attempt to dissipate some of the force. However, Tang Zheng's attack was too powerful. Even if he managed to dissipate some of the force, it still wasn't easy. Tang Zheng easily dodged the blood. With a single step, he was beside Boss Fan. Boss Fan slashed his blade to the side, but found that the blade hit empty air. Tang Zheng's palm had silently struck below his ribs. Pung! This strike was very heavy. Boss Fan was directly sent flying and fiercely fell to the ground. Even his blade was knocked out of his hand. Tang Zheng was like a shadow as he stood beside Boss Fan and coldly said, "Now you know the consequences of offending me." Boss Fan was scared to death. He never thought that Tang Zheng's martial arts would have reached such a high level. He was like a completely different person compared to when they were in the arena. If he were to let those boxers exchange blows with him, they wouldn't be able to last more than a few moves. "Tang Zheng, please let me go. I will never be your enemy again." Boss Fan was scared. He hurriedly begged for mercy. As long as there was life, there was hope. In order to save his life, he had to admit defeat. Boss Fan wasn't a tough bone to begin with. If he was, then he wouldn't be so close to Huang Xiang. "Let you go? Have you ever thought of letting me go?" Tang Jing retorted. Boss Fan was at a loss for words. He had already gone to the hospital to assassinate Tang Jing. How could he ever think of letting him go? "I was blinded by lard. I'm not a person, I'm a bastard. I won't dare to do it again." Boss Fan slapped himself in the face, causing half of his face to immediately swell up. "Tang Zheng, no, young Master Tang, let me go. I'll listen to you from now on. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'll be your dog. An untrained dog will bite its owner." Tang Zheng bent down and picked up the blade. He raised his hand and swung it down. Chapter 105. Blood splattered everywhere, and an ear-piercing scream instantly spread throughout the small forest. Everyone subconsciously stopped their attacks and focused their attention on the scene. Sogu, 360, SOSO Lin, whose mouth twitched as his mind trembled. Tang Zhang's ruthlessness had shocked him. It made him think of many things and made him make up his mind. If it was said that he had previously placed himself on the same level as Tang Zhang, then after this battle, he had completely lowered himself and was filled with admiration and reverence. This high school student that he had almost made a feud with was not someone he could fight against. His blood began to boil as he was filled with anticipation. He had such achievements at such a young age, just how far could he go in the future? However, when he saw Boss Fan wailing on the ground, he did not have a trace of pity. Sooner or later, he would have to pay for what he did. If you were not strong enough, then you would be killed by others. He walked over and saw that Boss Fan's wrists and ankles were dripping with blood. The tendons in his hands and ankles had been cut. Lin, whose heart was moved. When Tang Zhang raised his knife, he thought that Tang Zhang wanted to kill Boss Fan. If Tang Zhang had really killed someone, then Lin who would have risked his life to settle this matter. However, he did not kill anyone. This Tang Zhang was a meticulous person. If he killed someone in front of so many people, then it would not have a good effect. Moreover, he would have put himself in danger. This was an extremely disadvantageous matter. However, Tang Zhang only cut Boss Fan's tendons and directly crippled him. This was in accordance with the rules of the underworld and also completely eliminated this threat. It was indeed the most suitable method. Clean this up. Tang Zhang threw away the knife and calmly said. There was no longer any trace of his ruthless killing intent. However, the scene from before had been deeply imprinted in everyone's minds. Yes, Boss Fan has been arrogant for half his life. From now on, he will beg for a living. Lin, whose attitude became even more respectful. He called out to two of his subordinates and carried Boss Fan away. Big Head Fan only cared about howling in pain. He didn't even dare to look at Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang looked around and swept his gaze over everyone. Everyone who met his gaze subconsciously lowered their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. Tang Zhang's eyes were actually very calm, just like an ordinary high school student's. However, those who were looked at by him felt a burning sensation. A sense of pressure spontaneously rose from the bottom of their hearts. This was what it meant to be imposing. Imperceptibly, Tang Zhang had developed this kind of aura over time. Once it erupted, it was like the sun, making others unable to look at it directly. When Big Head Fan's underlings saw that their boss had been crippled, they all dropped their weapons and didn't dare to fight anymore. Without a doubt, Tang Zhang had single-handedly turned the tide of the battle. This was not a battle on the battlefield. This kind of street fight had a strong sense of heroism. Often, a suppressive expert could decide the outcome of a battle. Tang Zhang was very satisfied. He felt refreshed and said, "Brother Hu, I'm leaving. Young Master Tang, please wait a moment. We have won this battle. I will first send my underlings to Big Head Fan's territory to plant the flag. Can I invite you to my place to sit for a while?" Lin Hu respectfully invited. Moreover, he changed the way he addressed Tang Zhang. He no longer called him Brother Tang, but Young Master Tang. Tang Zhang nodded in agreement. "Young Master Tang, please don't call me Brother Hu in the future. It's too much for me. Just call me Huzi." Lin Hu took the initiative to show weakness. Tang Zhang hesitated for a moment. However, he understood the other's intentions and agreed. Lin Hu quickly arranged for his underlings to plant the flag and clean up the mess. Meanwhile, he and Tang Zhang sat in a car in the distance. Under everyone's gazes, they gradually drove away. Huazi drove. From time to time, he would look at his boss and Tang Zhang from the rearview mirror. When he had just arrived, he saw Tang Zhang's hand swing down and directly end the battle. One could imagine the shock in his heart. Thinking back to the time when he dared to be disrespectful to Tang Dehai, he simply ate a leopard's guts. He couldn't help but admire his boss's eyesight. "Young Master Tang, boss, we're here. Huazi stopped the car in front of Sheng Shi Bar and respectfully reported. Lin Hu was the first to get off the car. Then, he went around to Tang Zheng's side and took the initiative to open the car door. He slightly bowed, "Young Master Tang, please." Tang Zheng got off the car. He didn't feel uncomfortable at all. When other people faced this kind of situation, they would feel a little uneasy. However, Tang Zheng's calmness seemed to be innate. In the past, it was just hidden. Now, it gradually broke out. Sheng Shi Bar. It was still the office on the second floor. This time, the one sitting at the head of the table was not Lin Hu but Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng glanced around. He still remembered that this was the office where he first met Lin Hu. Moreover, they had a big fight. With the passage of time, the conflict between the two has been completely resolved. Instead, it has become a closer relationship. Young Master Tang, this time it was all thanks to your righteous help. Otherwise, I would have fallen. I, Lin Hu, will remember this kindness in my heart. Lin Hu's face was solemn as he said in a deep voice. Tang Zheng waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. Moreover, with our relationship, I can't just stand by and watch you die." Lin Hu's heart was happy. It seems that his position in the other's heart was not bad. So, he struck while the iron was hot. "Young Master Tang, I have a presumptuous request." "Speak." "You've also seen my property, so I want to transfer it to you." Lin Hu calmly said, without a trace of reluctance. Even Dong Zi, who was standing at the side, couldn't help but feel his eyelids jump. He was incomparably surprised. Tang Zheng looked at Lin Hu with astonishment. Although he did not know how many businesses Lin Hu had, he was certain that it was worth tens of millions. But he actually wanted to transfer it to Tang Zheng. This courage made Tang Zheng have a whole new level of respect for him. In this world, there were many people who were greedy for power and wealth. Those who dared to hand over their benefits to others were few and far between. However, Tang Zheng did not show too much of a reaction. He lightly said, "I don't have the money to accept your business." "No, I'm giving it to young Master Tang." "I don't need a single cent," Lin Hu resolutely said as if he did not feel any heartache. Tang Zheng deeply looked at Lin Hu as if he wanted to re-examine him. "Why? Today, my life was saved by young Master Tang. If you didn't act, I would have lost without a doubt. This business would also have been snatched away by Boss Fan." "And?" Lin Hu slightly hesitated and said, "My ability is not enough to support such a large business. Only you, young Master Tang, have this ability. Be a bit more specific." Tang Zheng was a bit interested. "In ordinary balance, other than me and Boss Fan, there are two other bosses. One is Hoodlum and the other is Fire Phoenix. These two are not ordinary people. Especially Hoodlum. In the past, he was Boss Huang's head horse. Later on, he came out to do things on his own. In reality, he was acting on behalf of Boss Huang. This person is very good at fighting." Tang Zheng nodded. He did not think that ordinary balance would have such a complicated relationship. "Who is Boss Huang?" "Actually, young Master Tang and Boss Huang have already formed a grudge. He is Huang Xiang's father. His name is Huang Biao and his nickname is Huang Si. He is an unfathomable expert. Don't look at how ordinary balance has so many forces. If he stood up and shouted, everyone would have no choice but to listen to him." Tang Zheng shivered. It seems that he and the Huang family were fated to be involved. However, he did not have a good impression of the Huang family. According to Boss Fan, Huang Xiang had tried to assassinate him before. Although he did not know why the other party did not succeed, it was not important. What was important was that both sides were in a life and death situation. The King of Medicine did not mention the battle that night. In the King of Medicine's mind, finding out the condition of Tang Zheng's body was the most important thing. Everything else was just a small episode not worth mentioning. "Oh, so you will also listen to him?" Tang Zheng asked with interest. Lin Hu firmly shook his head. From today onwards, I will only listen to young Master Tang. Tang Zheng thoughtfully nodded his head. No matter what Lin Hu's final plan was, at least his attitude was sincere. Moreover, he originally wanted to deal with Huang Xiang, and this would also trigger Huang Xi's nerves. Thus, agreeing to Lin Hu's request was not impossible. Moreover, Lin Hu was not a burden and could be a great help to him. Huang Xi was a deeply rooted local snake. If he wanted to overthrow him, it would not be as simple as killing his way to his door. In addition, his cultivation was definitely not as good as Huang Xi's. Rashly killing his way to his door would be like throwing an egg at a rock. Tell me about this hoodlum. Tang Zheng thoughtfully said. Hoodlum represents the interests of the Huang family and controls the most prosperous area in ordinary Balance City. Moreover, this person is vicious and merciless. He dares to fight and fight. Back when he was Huang Xi's horse, he was already famous for his bravery and loyalty to Huang Xi. Otherwise, he would not have been chosen by Huang Xi to be his spokesperson. Hoodlum has some business acumen and the businesses under him are doing very well. He also has guts and dares to touch prostitution, gambling, and drugs. With Huang Xi's protection, these few years he has been developing rapidly. If not for the fact that the northern part of the city is an old district and there is not much profit to be made, I'm afraid he would have already made a move on me. This hoodlum was not simple. However, to dare touch prostitution, gambling, and drugs, he really had guts. This was especially true for drugs. This was the country's most severe crackdown on drugs, and of course it was also the most profitable. Tang Zheng did not know much about the underworld. Since he would not be able to avoid it in the future, he might as well understand it. He then asked, "Then what is the situation of your businesses?" "I don't have many businesses. I only have baths and bars. However, I don't have as many resources as Hoodlum. Therefore, I only sell a bit of alcohol and raise a few girls. I also collect protection fees to earn money. I can't compare to Hoodlum." How come you don't touch drugs and gambling?" Lin Hu's face revealed a trace of sadness as he resolutely said, "I hate drugs. Back then, my wife died from drug addiction. Back then, I was doing pretty well. Although I wasn't the boss, I still had a bit of money, so I got married. After marriage, I was very happy. However, later on, my wife became addicted to drugs. She refused to change and in the end, she died from drug addiction." Lin Hu gnashed his teeth as he said this. It seems that although this matter had passed for a long time, the scar in his heart was still very painful. Because of this, when I became the boss, I did not allow drugs to enter my businesses. Because of this, there were many fights. In the end, when others saw that I had made up my mind, no one dared to come to my businesses to sell drugs. It is also because of this that my businesses and profits can't compare to others. Chapter 106. Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and comforted him. "You made the right decision. As a man, there are things you can do and things you can't do. Drugs are things you can't touch. Fairy search download novels for free. Drugs not only harm a person, but also the family of a drug addict will fall into a bottomless abyss. Moreover, this country was bullied because of the Opium War. As a young man with correct values, he naturally hated drugs." Lin Hu nodded, took a deep breath, and tried to calm his mind as much as possible and said, "If there is something, then there is something to be gained. It is also because of this reason that my place is rarely checked by the police, which saves me a lot of trouble." "What about the casino?" Tang Zheng still remembered the casino in the ordinary Balance Villa. Of course, he was also very clear about how terrifying the casino's ability to make money was. The casino needs a lot of money to back it up. My strength is not enough, so I can't play it. But in my territory, there are some small casinos. My little brothers also go to the casinos to collect protection fees, but they don't participate in the operation. Tang Zheng had a general understanding of Lin Hu's strength and said, What's the situation with that fire phoenix? This woman is not simple. She is in her 30s. When she was in her teens, she came out as a delinquent girl. She dared to fight and later married her own boss. But this boss did not live long and was hacked to death. Fire Phoenix took over his position. Originally, I thought that she would not be able to protect me. The others were all eyeing her territory covetously, but in the end, she miraculously survived. These years, she has also stabilized. Her strength is even a bit stronger than mine. Oh, why do I feel that among these bosses, you are the most miserable? Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. Lin, who wasn't embarrassed at all and directly nodded his head in acknowledgement, that is indeed the case. The northern part of the city is an old part of the city, so there is very little profit to be had. Moreover, I have put so many shackles on myself, so this little brother really hasn't enjoyed much with me. Boss, we are all willing to follow you. It is not just for the money. Dong Zi stood up and said with righteous indignation. Lin, who smiled and gestured for Dong Zi to sit down, saying, I understand your thoughts, so I am very grateful to you. Now you understand why I was interested in the profits from the junkyard. Tang Zheng expressed his understanding and said, since we have already formed a grudge with Huang Si, then we have to weaken his strength as much as possible. This time you also snatched away Boss Fan's territory, so your strength has increased greatly. This will also attract their attention, so our current target is Hoodlum. He is Huang Si's hand, so we have to cut off his hand. Lin, who excitedly nodded his head, that's also what I was thinking. If we were to directly face Huang Si, our chances of victory would not be high. But Hoodlum is not like Boss Fan. This person has a brain and his strength is not bad. He is far from being as easy to deal with as Boss Fan. Moreover, I just fought with Boss Fan, so it will definitely attract the attention of the police, so I have to stay low for a while. Then let's stop on the surface and make preparations in secret to avoid being caught off guard when the time comes. Also, what is the relationship between Fire Phoenix and Huang Si? Fire Phoenix obviously respects Huang Si on the surface, but a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. What exactly is she thinking in her heart, no one knows. Could it be that young Master Tang wants to ally with Fire Phoenix to deal with Hoodlum? This will not be easy. Fire Phoenix is more cautious and will not easily make a move. Who hacked her husband to death? This I do not know. Her husband was also a fierce person. That year before Huang Si retreated to the background, he often went against Huang Si. Oh. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up, then could his death have been caused by Huang Si? This is hard to say. There is no evidence. Hey, so what if there is no evidence? The key is to believe in this point. I believe that Fire Phoenix also has a scale in her heart. It is just that she is not Huang Si's opponent, so she does not dare to show it. You go and get in touch with Fire Phoenix and probe her thoughts. If we can ally with her, then our chances of victory will be much higher. Tang Jing arranged. Lin, who agreed. Now that his territory was larger than Fire Phoenix's, Fire Phoenix would feel a sense of danger. Perhaps there really was a possibility of them working together. Okay, we will stop here for today. If you have any news, then let me know. Properly manage your territory. Tang Zheng stood up and prepared to leave. Young Master Tang, this is your territory. Lin, who corrected him. Tang Zheng gave an enigmatic smile and said, there is no need to give it to me. This place was taken down by your blade and gun. Moreover, I am a student and not someone from the underworld. I will not take your territory. However, our goals are the same. If you need any help, I will lend you a hand. Tang Zheng was a cultivator and his vision was not small. How could he possibly care about the ordinary balance underworld's benefits? His top priority was to raise his cultivation level, and he could not possibly place his focus on the underworld's fighting and killing. In addition, if his grandfather knew that he was deeply involved with the underworld, he would also be worried. Lin, who watched as Tang Jing disappeared through the door and did not come back to his senses. This was an opportunity to hand over to him, but he was unexpectedly not moved. Lin, who really could not see through Tang Zheng. Boss, how could he refuse? Then are we still going to listen to him? Dong Zi asked in disbelief. Lin, who firmly said, of course we will listen to him. Although he does not want it, I will still help him guard this property. He is equivalent to our boss behind the scenes. At any time, as long as he gives the order, I will hand it over to him. Lin, who knew that Tang Zheng's vision was no longer limited to this city. Although he did not know the other specific thoughts, following him may allow him to see scenery that he did not even dare to imagine before. When Tang Zheng returned home, the sky had already darkened. From afar, he could see two slender figures standing in front of the door. Compared to the small house, they formed a completely different scenery. Passers-by all turned to look at them. These two people were truly too beautiful, like two pearls. Quickly walking over, the two people had already come to greet him. Fang Shishir was like a dancing butterfly as she flew towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng held her in his arms, feeling the breathtaking softness. He patted her back and asked, "Why did you two come?" "I came to see you." "Why did you run out?" "You should be at home recuperating," Fang Shishir said with concern. "I am already fine, so I went out for a walk to get some fresh air." Tang Zheng moved his muscles to show off. Injured muscles and bones take 100 days to recover. This is a big matter and cannot be taken lightly. But if your body is better, you won't have to miss this week's monthly exam. Monthly exam? Tang Zheng was shocked. He immediately remembered that Lu Qingmei wanted him to get first place in the monthly exam. This was not in line with his original plan. He was originally prepared to compromise, but this time he had a way to muddle through. Using his injury as an excuse to not go to class for a few days, he could muddle through. Sure, tell teacher Lu tomorrow that I am still recuperating and will not be able to participate in the monthly exam. No problem. Wait until the high school exam to show your strength. At that time, you will definitely amaze everyone and surprise everyone. Fang Shishir agreed. Hey, can the two of you not be so lovey-dovey? Yi Dingdang finally couldn't help but speak up. She was specifically asked by Feng Xinyang to come find Tang Zheng. She didn't expect that after many twists and turns, she would find Fang Shishir standing in front of his door. Yi Dingdang didn't leave. If she left, wouldn't that mean that she was afraid of Fang Shishir? So she simply waited at the door. The two were like door gods, occasionally looking at each other but not speaking. "Do you need something from me?" Tang Zheng let go of Fang Shishir. Fang Shishir still held his hand and walked towards Yi Dingdang. "Of course there's something." Yi Dingdang hatefully stared at the two's tightly held hands and said with a complicated expression. "What is it?" "Let's talk alone. Then I'll go in first." Fang Shishir obediently opened the door and entered the room. Yi Dingdang looked at him and said, "First, I want to thank you for giving me the Jade Women's Heart Sutra. It is very suitable for me. Moreover, this cultivation technique is very precious." "I don't know how to thank you." "I already said that I don't need your thanks. I just wanted to help." Tang Zheng shrugged and generously said. Yi Dingdang's eyes flashed with a bright light. Tang Zheng at this moment was very charming. Anyone who easily gave a priceless treasure to another without asking for anything in return would have a charm that would make others submit. Yi Dingdang collected her thoughts and continued to say, "I already know about the life-continuing pill." Tang Zheng didn't find it strange and nodded, indicating for her to continue. "I didn't think that you wouldn't agree to save him. You also saw how he treated me. Do you think I need to save him?" Tang Zheng asked back. Yi Dingdang squeezed out a smile and said, "You really are bold. When I heard Feng Xinyang talk about this matter, I also felt that it was inconceivable. But I really admire your style. You flatter me. I don't have any big principles, but I still have some small principles. Do you know that the old man is very angry? In these past years, no one has ever dared to treat him like this. People always have to experience their first time. Seeing his serious appearance, Yi Dingdang couldn't help but laugh. I really admire you. You didn't come today just to express your admiration, right? Tang Zheng calmly asked. Don't you know that you are already in danger? Yi Dingdang decided not to talk about her own matters and prepared to test Tang Zheng's reaction. I have never been safe. But I still have a bit of ability to protect myself, so I won't die for now. But this time is different from before. The old man is a 9th grade natal stage cultivator. This is already very frightening. You are not his opponent. Tang Zheng faintly smiled and said, it seems like he really wants to kill and steal. All right, then I will wait for him. Are you stupid, or are you really not afraid of death? Yi Dingdang rolled her eyes at him. Everyone is afraid of death, so how can I not be afraid of death? But since he wants to kill, I can't just sit and wait for death. Hey, you really are daring. But since you gave me the Jade Women's Heart Sutra, I will give you a clear path to resolve this crisis. Oh, so kind? Of course I am kind. I have always been kind. Don't you know? Yi Dingdang somewhat playfully said. Then I am all ears. Chapter 107. Tang Zheng originally thought that Yi Dingdang would have some kind of brilliant plan, but after hearing her words, his expression became strange and he couldn't help but interrupt her. Is your plan for yourself or for me? Yi Dingdang raised her head, revealing her snow-white neck. Her body under the school uniform was especially tall, making Tang Zheng involuntarily think of the time when they shared the same bed. Sogu, 360, So searched JDXS to download novels for free. Yi Dingdang clearly didn't notice Tang Zheng's bad intentions and righteously said, of course I'm doing this for you, how could it be for myself? Saying this, her eyes flashed, but she felt a bit guilty and silently cursed. Feng Xinyang, all of this was your plan, but you want me to carry it out. Shouldn't you be the one saying it as the mother, humph? Tang Zheng shook his head and retorted, I don't think so, you're clearly the one benefiting more. How could that be? You won't be in any danger like this, and I'm just taking a little bit of benefit. Yi Dingdang used her fingernails to point out, as if she wanted to remind herself that the benefits were insignificant. You're just taking things from your left pocket to your right pocket, it's your Ya family that's taking advantage. Tang Zheng disagreed. Yi Dingdang's expression changed and said in a deep voice, don't speak nonsense, I'm greater than over equal to, surnamed Yi, I'm from the ordinary Balance Ya family, not the Beijing Ya family. Seeing her firm expression, he could understand her feelings. His expression also became serious as he said, you want me to give the life-continuing pill to Yi Xuanji so that he can cancel your marriage with Song Yu. No matter how you look at it, I feel like you have more benefits. This was Feng Xinyang's plan. Not only could it save Tang Zheng's life, but it could also resolve Yi Dingdang's crisis, killing two birds with one stone. This way you won't be in any danger, isn't that great? Yi Dingdang guiltily lowered her head, just agree, this is good for both of us. Moreover, do you have the heart to see me marry Song Yu? Why wouldn't I have the heart? Song Yu is elegant, rich, and powerful. He's the prince that many girls dream of. Tang Zheng didn't take the bait. In any case, he is not my type. Moreover, I have already announced to the outside world that you are my fiancé, so you should be responsible for me, your fiancé, to the end. Yi Dingdang hardened her heart and loudly said. Shoo, lower your voice, I said this to help you, but everyone knows it's fake. Tang Zheng looked into the room, not knowing if Feng Shusher heard. Anyways, the whole school already knows that you're my fiancé. If you don't agree, I'll continue to say this and make you a heartless man that everyone despises, Chin Shimmy. Yi Dingdang's eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness as she resolutely said. Originally, Feng Xinyang wanted her to act gentle, but Yi Dingdang clearly didn't follow the script and returned to her original nature, directly threatening him. Tang Zheng was speechless. Why was this Yi Dingdang pestering him endlessly? Of course he was not afraid of being scolded behind his back, as it was just a false rumor, but he was worried that Feng Shusher would be troubled. To be honest, he really didn't want to bother with Yi Xuanji, since his life and death had nothing to do with him. Brat, don't you want a 300-year-old ginseng to refine a spirit-gathering pill? Yi Xuanji definitely has a way to get it, so add this condition to it. This girl is right, you're not Yi Xuanji's opponent right now, so there's no need to make such a strong enemy. Moreover, you can deepen your relationship with this girl, which will be more beneficial for you to take her down in the future. You can't just give this girl to Song Yu. Tian Chanzi once again joined in. Ginseng. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up, that's right, I have no way to find this ingredient, but Yi Xuanji definitely has a way. Your top priority is to refine a spirit-gathering pill to increase your cultivation. Something like the life-continuing pill, other people treat it as a priceless treasure, but it doesn't have much use for you. Why don't you use it to exchange for something useful to you? Moreover, if others know that you don't have it, they won't have any ideas about you. This is killing two birds with one stone. Tian Chanzi analyzed. He had to admit that sometimes Tang Zheng's perspective was still lacking, and the experienced and astute Tian Chanzi just happened to make up for this. Seeing Tang Zheng hesitate, Yi Dingdang was also very nervous. If Tang Zheng didn't agree, then she would be in trouble, so she anxiously asked, "Do you agree or not?" "Okay, I agree, but I have a condition." "What condition?" Yi Dingdang was overjoyed, but her heart became nervous. He wouldn't ask for something excessive, right? If he did, what would I do? "I need a 300-year-old ginseng, tell him to prepare it." 300-year-old ginseng. Yi Dingdang breathed a sigh of relief, but she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. "What do you need that for?" "You don't have to worry about that, just go back and tell him to decide for himself." "Okay, I'll keep it in mind." "You can't go back on your words." Yi Dingdang believed that the old man would agree, after all, this was related to his life, but she was most afraid that Tang Zheng would go back on his words. A gentleman's word cannot be taken back. Tang Zheng's answer was resolute and decisive. Yi Dingdang curled her lips and criticized in her heart. He didn't know how to be modest at all, and still called himself a gentleman. "If there's nothing else, I'll go in." "What, can't wait to see your lover?" Yi Dingdang teased, but there was a hint of jealousy in her voice. "Yes, so forgive me for not seeing you out." Tang Zheng went in, leaving Yi Dingdang stomping her feet and muttering, "Humph, I don't want to stand here." "Are you done?" Fang Shishir saw him come in and quickly went to welcome him. "I want to cook for you, how do I do this?" She awkwardly and anxiously pointed at the rice cooker. "Sorry, I've never cooked before, so I don't know how to do it." "Am I stupid?" Fang Shishir lowered her head in embarrassment. Tang Zheng's head warmed as he said, "You're so smart, how can you be stupid? It's just that you haven't come into contact with it before." This kind of rich young miss was willing to cook for him. If he said that he wasn't moved, then he would be lying. "Then I'll start learning from today. I believe that I can also make delicious food." Fang Shishir smiled, revealing two shallow dimples. "Okay, I'll teach you. Now don't move and watch me do it." Tang Zheng rolled up his sleeves and moved quickly. He washed the rice, washed the pot, and then used the rice cooker to cook the rice. Then he began to wash and cut the vegetables. There was a series of ding-ding-ding sounds. The crisp sound of the kitchen knife cutting on the chopping board was like a piece of music, very rhythmic and charming. "Let me try." Fang Shishir was eager to try. "Be careful, this knife is very sharp." Fang Shishir held the knife and cut the vegetables like he did, but she didn't have the ease he had. The ingredients she cut were all big and small. "It's always like this for the first time. Just do it more often," Tang Zheng encouraged. Fang Shishir nodded and gritted her teeth. Suddenly, the kitchen knife slipped and she cried out in pain. Her finger was cut and blood flowed out. She immediately frowned in pain. Tang Zheng hurriedly grabbed her hand and looked at it. Her finger had been cut open. He put her finger into his mouth with heartache, wanting to suck the blood away. This was a subconscious action because he used to do this. But Fang Shishir was stunned to see her finger in Tang Zheng's mouth. She immediately blushed, but she didn't stop him. Her heart was warm. Put a band-aid on it. Does it still hurt? Tang Zheng asked softly. Fang Shishir gently shook her head, looked at him with shining eyes, and whispered, "It doesn't hurt." "It doesn't hurt? You were screaming just now." "It hurt just now, but it doesn't hurt now." Fang Shishir showed a charming smile. "How can it be so fast, silly girl?" Tang Zheng put on the band-aid. Seeing that she was still looking at him, he touched his face and asked, "Is there a flower on my face?" Fang Shishir didn't answer him, but expressed her feelings with practical actions. She hugged his neck, raised her head and kissed his lips. Since the beauty took the initiative to throw herself into his arms, Tang Zheng naturally would not reject her. He tightly embraced her slender waist and passionately kissed her. The two people's rapid breathing caused the temperature in the room to rise. Tang Zheng's hands began to move. His hands went all the way down her back and wrapped around her perky buttocks. Although Fang Shishir's body was still raw, it showed a little maturity. That amazing elasticity was particularly attractive. Tang Zheng lovingly hugged her as the two tightly stuck together. Fang Shishir seemed as if she was about to melt as she softly fell into his embrace. "Go inside," Fang Shishir said, almost moaning. Tang Zheng directly carried her up and walked to his room. Fang Shishir's hands hooked around his neck and looked at him lovingly. Tang Zheng gently placed her on the bed and leaned over to kiss her, entangling them together. His hands were not idle. Little by little, they moved up from her legs to her buttocks and slowly reached her chest. Through her clothes, he could still feel the warm and soft fullness. Fang Shishir's body stiffened and trembled with excitement. But she didn't stop Tang Zheng's attack. She let his hands hold her peaks through her clothes. Fang Shishir's breathing became more rapid. Her eyes were like autumn water and her face was like peach blossoms. She was faintly anticipating and also a little afraid. But she still gathered her courage and gave him an encouraging look. Tang Zheng's hands moved more vigorously. Even through her clothes, Fang Shishir felt her body heat up. It was as if she was going to burn up. She couldn't help but moan. Her hands also hugged Tang Zheng's body and stroked it. Tang Zheng was even more excited. He felt that his blood was boiling. He was no longer satisfied with this little achievement. He began to conquer her. Unknowingly, his hands had already moved under her clothes. Her skin was white and delicate, like mutton fat jade. When his fingers touched it, her body trembled slightly. His big hands quickly moved up and touched her underwear. Then, he quickly moved in. The underwear wrapped his hands tightly, but it made the contact between his hands and her skin even more intimate. Tang Zheng's hands were stuffed. They were soft and delicate, making his heart burn more and more. Even his eyes were about to spit fire. Chapter 108. Both parties had already read the latest chapter. Fang Shishir's clothes had already been pushed up, exposing her two snow-white breasts to the air. There was even a little bit of Tang Zheng's saliva on them. Obviously, he had already tasted this beautiful delicacy. Fang Shishir's pink face was like a peach blossom, showing a kind of soul-stirring beauty. Both parties were ready to take the next step when a soft sound came from outside the door. It was the sound of the rice cooker, indicating that the rice was ready. Fang Shishir was already in a state of delirium and did not notice this soft sound. However, Tang Zheng's ears were sharp and this sound still interrupted his mood, causing him to be shocked. They were at home and the sky was about to turn dark. Grandpa would be back soon from work. If they were to see this scene, Tang Zheng's thick skin would not matter, but Fang Shishir's thin skin would definitely be too embarrassed to show her face. He stopped abruptly, but Fang Shishir was still immersed in it. She was still leaning on him, her chest pressed against Tang Zheng's body, rubbing and changing shape, almost igniting the fire in Tang Zheng's head. Fortunately, Tang Zheng's self-control was not bad. He whispered in her ear, grandfather might be back soon. Fang Shishi's movements suddenly stopped. After pausing for a few seconds, she hurriedly tidied up her clothes and complained, "Why didn't you say so earlier? If Grandpa were to see it, it would be so embarrassing." Tang Zheng looked at her flustered appearance and laughed for no reason. "You can't blame me for this. You also have a part to play." "Humph, it's all your fault. It's all your fault." Fang Shishi stared at him coquettishly. She was so flirtatious that Tang Zheng almost lost control again. "Help me take a look. Is there anything wrong with my clothes? Is it messy?" "Don't worry, there's no problem. It's very neat. You can't tell what we did just now." Fang Shishi immediately punched him and said, "Why do I feel like you've become bad? I used to think that you were very honest." It's too late to realize it now. We've already boarded the pirate ship and can't get off, Tang Zheng said with a proud smile. Fang Shishi also smiled, brimming with happiness and sweetness. "Little Zheng, is there a guest at home?" Tang Dahai's voice sounded from outside the door. "Yes, Grandpa, Shishi is here. She's having dinner with us today." Tang Zheng and Fang Shishi walked out of the bedroom and saw their grandfather entering the house. He was carrying a snakeskin bag in his left hand and an iron hook in his right. He was wearing a straw hat on his head. "Grandpa, you're back. Take a rest first. The rice is ready. We can eat after we stir-fry the vegetables." Fang Shishi hurriedly went up and took the snakeskin bag. Tang Dahai hurriedly moved away and said, "Little girl, this thing is dirty. I'll do it. You sit first, you sit." Fang Shishi did not mind as she took the snakeskin bag and said, "Grandpa, you've been tired all day. You sit down and rest first." Tang Dahai was at a loss of what to do. He was used to seeing people avoid him like the plague, so Fang Shishi's casual behavior made him feel at a loss. "This will dirty your clothes," Tang Dahai said. "It's okay. If the clothes are dirty, just wash them." Fang Shishi carried the snakeskin bag to the corner and put it down. She then diligently poured water and handed it over. He was overwhelmed by her favor and stood there blankly. Tang Zheng's mouth curved into a smile. No matter how his relationship with Fang Shishi was, Fang Shishi's attitude made him feel gratified. "Shishi, you sit for a while. I'll stir-fry. I'll watch and learn." The two of them, one stir-frying, the other watching, occasionally made eye contact with each other, revealing deep affection. Looking at this pair, Tang Dahai sighed in his heart, "They really are a match made in heaven. This little girl is also sensible. It's just that our family is too poor." This meal was eaten with relish and the atmosphere was very good. After the meal, Fang Shishi took the initiative to wash the dishes. She then pulled Tang Dahai to chat for a while before getting up to say goodbye. "Little Zheng, you go send her off. Grandpa, then I'll go back first. I'll come see you next time." Under the dim light, the two held hands. Fang Shishi leaned on Tang Zheng's shoulder, her mouth curved into a crescent moon as she smiled and said, "Are you satisfied with my performance in front of Grandpa today?" "Of course I'm satisfied. You did very well. I haven't seen Grandpa this happy in a long time." Tang Zheng said sincerely. "It's good that you're satisfied. Grandpa is the person closest to you, so of course I have to be good to him." Tang Zheng's heart warmed as he held her hand tighter. Feeling the change in his mood, Fang Shishi directly hugged his arm and pressed her chest against it, causing Tang Zheng's mind to wander. "Tang Zheng, my dad wants to invite you to dinner tomorrow night." "Going to your house again?" "Not my house, they want to eat outside. They want to thank you for saving me." Tang Zheng still remembered the last feast at Hongmen, so he really didn't have the heart to deal with them. But when he saw Fang Shishi's hopeful gaze, he couldn't bear to refuse and agreed. "I knew you were the best to me. Even though they have their faults, they are still my parents." Fang Shishi also knew what he was thinking, so she advised. Tang Zheng smiled and said, "This is nothing. I'm not even afraid of a mountain of blades or a sea of flames. Why would I be afraid of a meal? I knew you were the best to me. Then I'll go back first. Today we didn't finish our business. Let's continue next time. Tang Zheng's heart was burning as he couldn't help but say. Humph, rogue. Fang Shishir glanced at him flirtatiously before getting into a taxi and leaving. Brat, you used a sealing technique on me again. You're pissing me off. Tian Chanzi's voice suddenly sounded again. Did you succeed this time? Your skills didn't change, so you definitely didn't succeed. You brat, you really disappoint me. You didn't even seize such a heaven-sent opportunity. You're pissing me off. Previously, Tian Chanzi had already been sealed by Tang Zheng's sealing technique. After all, he and Fang Shishir were so intimate that he didn't want Tian Chanzi to know. So as soon as the seal was lifted, Tian Chanzi couldn't wait to ask. Do you think everyone is as thirsty as you? Things have to be done step by step, do you understand? Tang Zheng said without any good feelings. Humph, I think you're an idiot. You brat, don't tell me you have a problem in that area. That's why you dilly-dallied for so long. Tian Chanzi maliciously guessed. You're the one with a problem. The next day, Tang Zheng was practicing martial arts at home when he suddenly heard someone ask from outside the door, Tang Zheng, are you home? Who is it? It's me, Lu Qingmei. A cold voice came in followed by the sound of footsteps. It was clear that she had already entered the room. Tang Zheng was shocked. Why did Lu Qingmei run over? If she found out that my body has recovered, then it would be terrible. Thus, he quickly lied down on the bed and pretended to be weak and said, Oh, it's Teacher Lu. Why did you come? I'm sorry, I can't move right now, so I can't properly entertain you. Just as he finished speaking, Lu Qingmei walked into the bedroom and looked down at him with a bag of fruits in her hand. Teacher Lu, please sit. Tang Zheng weakly greeted her. Lu Qingmei looked at him as if she wanted to see through him. After a while, she said, Is your body better? A bit better. After a few more days of rest, I can move. Teacher Lu, I've troubled you to personally come. Tang Zheng said, gratefully. It's nothing. Tomorrow is the monthly exam. I wanted to see if you could participate in it. You promised me that you would get first place in the school. Lu Qingmei said straightforwardly. Tang Zheng had a headache. This woman really didn't forget about this matter. He could only pretend to be regretful and said, Teacher Lu, you've also seen my condition. I really can't go to school. His face cooperated with her to make a regretful expression. Relax, I won't force you. Since you can't participate in the last monthly exam, then wait for the high school exam. At that time, nothing will happen to you, right? No, definitely not. After all, I still have to go to university. That's good. Then I'll wait for you to get first place in the high school exam. Also, when your injuries are better, I have something to discuss with you. What is it? When the time comes, you'll know. So hurry up and recover. I won't disturb your rest. Lu Qingmei put down the fruits and left under Tang Zheng's suspicious gaze. What followed was very calm. Only in the evening did he arrive at the restaurant that he had agreed to meet with the Fang family. It was a very high-class Chinese restaurant and was very majestic. Tang Zheng was led by the waiter to a private room that was already reserved. When he pushed open the door and entered, Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin were already there. Shi Mengqin coldly glanced at him and coldly snorted, directly ignoring his existence. Fang Chonghua nodded at him and said, Little Tang, come in and sit. Shishir is still in the car and will only arrive in a while. Tang Zheng sat down and Fang Chonghua handed him the menu. You can order whatever you like. Tang Zheng moved the menu away and said, I'll order when Shishir arrives. That's fine. Since we have time now, let's have a chat. Little Tang, let's get straight to the point. This time you saved Shishir and we are very grateful, so we prepared a gift for you. Fang Chonghua pushed a bank card in front of Tang Zheng. There is 1 million in here. This is not a small amount. Treat it as your reward. But I have a condition. As long as you agree, this 1 million is yours. Fang Chonghua calmly said. Shi Mengqin looked at Tang Zheng, her eyes filled with ridicule and disdain. Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see it and said, I saved Shishir not for money. Little Tang, young people should not speak so firmly. I only have one condition, which is for you to leave Shishir and never bother her again. You and her are not people from the same world. Even if you spend more time and effort, you two will never be together. Loyal words are unpleasant to the ear. Perhaps you feel that these words are not pleasant to hear, but this is reality. With this 1 million, you can buy a house and improve your living conditions. Moreover, it will be enough for your university tuition, so you will benefit the most. Tang Zheng stared at Fang Chonghua and said, You want to use money to bribe me and make me leave Shishir? It's not a bribe. It's a win-win situation. Fang Chonghua was willing to use money to pave the way. He originally wanted to send Fang Shishir out of the country after the high school exam so that the two of them would not have a chance. But now it seemed that the two of them were developing out of control, so he used money to smash Tang Zheng. Chapter 109. Throwing money. This was a common tactic used by rich people, but they were all nouveau riche. Even though the Fang family had always boasted of their heritage, they were still unable to get rid of these vulgar tactics. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin both looked at Tang Zheng. 1 million was not a small sum to normal people, not to mention Tang Zheng's family, so they firmly believed that Tang Zheng would accept it. In the past, they did not think of using money to throw down Tang Zheng because they felt that Tang Zheng was not worth the effort. This time, they found that the situation was already very serious, so they chose this safe method. Tang Zheng indifferently glanced at it, but did not reach out to take it. Instead, he put his hand into his pocket and took out an envelope and said, This is the medical fees that you paid for me. I'm returning it to you. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin looked at each other, unable to hide their surprise. What was going on? They were throwing money at him, so why was he giving them money instead? Fang Chonghua's face gradually became serious. He already understood Tang Zheng's attitude from his actions, but he still did not give up and advised, Tang Zheng, your family is not rich. Accepting this 1 million will be good for you, so you don't need to force yourself. Being young and full of vigor is a good thing, but you also need to know your limits. Today, I specially invited you here to let you and Shishir have one last meal and then go your separate ways. Tang Zheng's expression did not change as he pushed the envelope in front of the other party and said, You have spent so much effort, but I will have to disappoint you. I have already said that I will not leave Shishir, so your efforts are futile. Tang Zheng, don't be so shameless. You don't know what's good for you. Be careful that we don't give you this 1 million and let you continue to be a pauper. Shi Mengqin finally could not help but slap the table and arrogantly scolded. You should keep it for yourself. You can buy a few more branded bags. If you want to break us up, you really can't do it. Since the other party went straight to the point, Tang Zheng did not feign civility and directly stood up to leave. The couple looked at Tang Zheng in shock. They did not think that he would be so resolute and not even put 1 million in his eyes. Tang Zheng, do you think 1 million is too little? Fang Chonghua asked. I don't have much money, but I don't need your money. Tang Zheng walked towards the door without looking back. Fine, Tang Zheng, you better remember this, I won't give you this 1 million, but you better not regret it. You are just a small character without any power or influence, I don't believe I can't deal with you. Shi Mengqin stood up and threatened with an ashen face. Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear and opened the door, only to find that Fang Shishir had just walked to the door. Fang Shishir looked at him in surprise and said, You're here. Why, are you going out to pick me up? Before he could say anything, Fang Shishir had already pulled him back into the private room. Dad, Mom, have you ordered? I'm a little hungry. Tang Zheng originally wanted to leave, but Fang Shishir came. He could not leave and was pulled back to his seat. Okay, I'll immediately order. You sit for a while first. Fang Chonghua calmly said as if nothing had happened. Shi Mengqin's shrewdness was clearly much worse as she coldly snorted and said, I'm going to the restroom. She glared at Tang Zheng and left the private room. Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see anything as he whispered with Fang Shishir. Fang Shishir inquired about his well-being, asked him how his body was, and also talked about the latest news in school. Her face was brimming with smiles from beginning to end. Fang Chonghua glanced at it and his eyelids jumped as he lightly wrinkled his eyebrows. What is this envelope? Fang Shishir suddenly asked. My medical fees. Tang Zheng said. Medical fees? Fang Shishir immediately understood what was going on. Her expression changed as she solemnly said, Tang Zheng, take it back. You were injured because of me, so the medical fees should be paid by our family. Without any explanation, she stuffed the envelope into Tang Zheng's pocket. Right, little Tang, you should take it back. We don't lack this bit of money. Fang Chonghua also said. Tang Zheng once again placed the envelope on the table. I am a person of principle. I am hospitalized myself so I must pay for it. Tang Zheng, is there a need for the two of us to draw such a clear line? Fang Shishir rebuked as she glared at him. These words caused Fang Chonghua's heart to tremble as he felt that this matter was becoming more and more thorny. However, it was also urgent that the two of them be separated. Otherwise, this matter would truly be irreversible. The envelope was stuffed back in. Just at this moment, there was a pang sound as the private room's door was suddenly pushed open and a scream rang out. Let go of me, you bunch of trash. You must have eaten the guts of a leopard to dare make a move against me. I will definitely let you all die a horrible death. This voice could not be any more familiar as several people turned their heads to look. They saw Shi Mengqin in a sorry state being grabbed by the hair as she stumbled in. Fang Chonghua immediately stood up as he solemnly looked at the few fierce-looking youths. Let go. Fang Chonghua angrily roared. The few youths completely ignored his roar as they fiercely grabbed Shi Mengqin's hair and asked, Are you guys together? Shi Mengqin felt pain as she cried out, It hurts so much. Hurry and let go of me. Who are you people? Hurry and let go of my wife or I will call the police. Fang Chonghua arrogantly said. Call the police? We are so scared. Then call the police. We will stand here and wait for the police to come so we can have a good talk. The youths were clearly not afraid of the police as they carelessly urged him. Fang Chonghua was shocked as from the other side's clothes and tone, he could tell that they were not high-level people and were probably from the underworld. If it was a normal person, Fang Chonghua would have a way to deal with them. However, these underworld people were vicious and merciless and did not act according to common sense. Fang Chonghua had always despised them, but he would always keep a respectful distance and not dare to provoke them. This time, he actually bumped into the muzzle of a gun. For a moment, he was at a loss as to what to do as he did not know how his wife got into a conflict with this group of people. Let go of my mom. Fang Shishir was stunned for a moment before she also stood up and angrily glared at them. If you have something to say, then say it properly. Is there a need to make a move? Making a move is against the law. Yo, there is also a little beauty here. The few people's attention was immediately attracted by Fang Shishir. Is this your mom? No matter how I look at her, she doesn't look like her at all. You are much prettier than her. Fang Shishir was so angry that her face turned red as she said, Hurry and let her go. Let her go? It's not that easy. She bumped into people and not only did she not apologize, she was also full of filthy words. If we don't teach her a lesson, then wouldn't we be teaching a beauty like you a bad thing? The young man said with an evil smile. Fang Chonghua walked in front of the other party and retorted, I think you guys are the ones causing trouble. Right, Chonghua, they are the blind dogs. They bumped into me and even hit me. Shi Mengqin shrieked with disheveled hair. Yo, your ability to invert black and white is really amazing. It was clearly you who bumped into us and your mouth is full of shit, yet you still dare to say that we hit you. I originally did not like hitting women, but since you said I hit you, then I will fulfill your wish. Pa. A resounding slap fiercely landed on Shi Mingqin's face. Shi Mingqin was clearly stunned and even forgot to scream. However, in the next second, her scream was so loud that it seemed as if it could lift the roof. You really dared to hit me. This is overturning the heavens. Chonghua, hurry and teach them a lesson. Teach them a lesson. They actually dared to hit me. Her voice was filled with anger and disbelief. Hey, is this woman stupid? Does she really think that she is the heavenly emperor and can do whatever she wants in this ordinary balance? Why doesn't she take a piss and look at herself? Hung. The others all mocked. Fang Chonghua's face was ashen. His wife was hit in front of him, and that slap was like a slap to his face. It was burning hot and he was completely enraged. Relying on his tall stature, he punched out and loudly roared, "Let go." Okay, since you want to make a move, then we brothers will accompany you to play. The young man released Shi Mingqin and walked up to Fang Chonghua. Although Fang Chonghua was taller than the other, he lived like a prince, so how could he be the other's opponent? After being punched in the stomach, he hugged his stomach and squatted down, his face becoming the color of pig liver. Nice to look at but useless. So he was just an idiot. The others all began to laugh. Shi Mingqin hid to the side, shivering. Don't look at how high and mighty she was normally. Seeing this scene, she immediately realized that something was wrong. That kind of high and mighty attitude was useful against others, but it was completely useless against these young men who used their fists to speak. Seeing the other party smile at her, she was so scared that she actually retreated a few steps, knocking into the table. Hey, now you know fear? If you had apologized earlier, wouldn't all of this have happened? The few people stepped closer. Shi Mingqin was truly panicking. Suddenly, Fang Shishir bravely stepped forward and stood in front of her. She fearlessly glared at the few people and said, "You are not allowed to harm my mother. Little beauty, your guts are quite big. You are much stronger than your parents." The young man laughed, "But if you do something wrong, then you must be punished. Just now, she didn't just curse me with 1 or 2 sentences. How can 1 slap be enough? 2 more slaps and then this matter will be considered over. If you want to harm my mother, then I will fight it out with you." Fang Shishir did not shrink back. "Then I can only ruthlessly destroy the flower. You are not allowed to touch my daughter." Fang Chonghua stood up and staggered in front of the door. At this moment, even though his heart was filled with fear, he still had the instinct to protect his family. "You are not our opponent. Obediently stand to the side." The young man pushed Fang Chonghua aside and extended his hand to grab Fang Shishir. Tang Zheng had been quietly observing the situation. In truth, he believed the other party's words. With Shi Mingqin's arrogant personality, this conflict was most likely caused by her. Ever since he came into contact with Lin Hu, he gradually realized that the people of the underworld were not completely unreasonable. Thus, he deliberately remained calm and collected to see how the situation would develop. Perhaps, he harbored some evil thoughts and wanted to see this couple make a fool of themselves. However, Fang Shishir's performance was out of his expectations. The usually gentle girl was actually not afraid of such an enemy and even dared to confront them. Seeing the other party attack Fang Shishir, Tang Zheng knew that he could not continue to quietly observe the situation. Thus, he stood up. Chapter 110. Fang Shishir was actually afraid, but there were some things that had to be done even if one was afraid, such as protecting one's family. Seeing the other's large hand grab at her, she subconsciously wanted to scream but discovered that a hand had reached out from behind her. Her heart trembled. That's right, she had Tang Zheng to protect her, so what was there to be afraid of? Immediately, her heart calmed down, like a person in the middle of a storm who had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. There was no fear, but instead a faint expectation. The young man originally thought that he would be able to catch her, but discovered that his hand was grabbed by another hand. That hand was like a pair of iron pincers, making him unable to move. He looked up and discovered a young face. This face was somewhat familiar, but he did not know where he had seen it before. Who are you? Those who mingled in the underworld also had a bit of eyesight. From Tang Zheng's iron pincer-like hand, they could determine that the other party was not like Fang Chonghua, who was only good for looking but useless. If you want to talk, then talk. Why are you making a move? Tang Zheng reprimanded. Who do you think you are? The other party's face flushed red as he angrily said. Tang Zheng coldly smiled as his hand exerted force, causing the other party to cry out miserably as the veins on his forehead popped out. Upon seeing this, the other youths became restless as they loudly roared, "Let him go." Greater than or equal to Tang Zheng swept his eyes over the other party, but no one dared to make a move. Fang Chonghua looked at Tang Zheng in shock, as he never thought that he would have such a move. It seems like his previous investigation was not thorough enough, as he actually knew martial arts. Shi Mengqin's eyes lit up as her spirit was instantly restored. She arrogantly shouted, "Tang Zheng, teach them a lesson for me and let them know my strength." Tang Zheng did not move, but he felt Fang Shishir tug on his clothes from behind. He turned his head and smiled at her. "Relax, no one can hurt you." Fang Shishir sweetly smiled as she happily nodded her head, feeling especially safe. Women needed a sense of security, and Tang Zheng was undoubtedly someone who could give others a sense of security, especially at this critical moment. Shi Mengqin, seeing that she was ignored, flew into a rage. "Tang Zheng, did you hear what I said? Teach this group of trash a lesson for me." Tang Zheng looked at her indifferently and let go of her hand. That person took a few deep breaths and hurriedly took a few steps back and asked in horror, "Who are you? Who are you people?" Tang Zheng asked. One of the young men stared fixedly at Tang Zheng. Suddenly, a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. He quickly whispered something in the ear of the young man in the lead. The young man's eyes instantly widened as he asked incredulously, "You are young Master Tang?" "Young Master Tang." The others all revealed looks of horror, as if they had met their nemesis, and they couldn't help but take a few steps back. These two words seemed to have boundless magical power, causing people to tremble in fear. Tang Zheng suspiciously looked at the other party as they actually recognized him. Only Lin Hu knew how to address him, so could it be that he was one of Lin Hu's people? Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin looked at each other as they were at a loss. Were these people stupid? They actually called this poor bastard young Master Tang. What a joke! What kind of young master was he? Wasn't he just a trash picker? Since you know who I am, then why haven't you apologized to this young miss? Since the other party was one of Lin Hu's people, Tang Zheng did not plan to pursue the matter. That person was in fear and trepidation as he deeply bowed towards Fang Shishir and bitterly begged, "This young miss, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. You are a great person, so please don't lower yourself to my level. I beg you to let me go." Fang Shishir was still in a state of shock as she looked at this person who was originally flaunting his power and was actually apologizing to her. She was a little stunned. Fang Chonghua felt even more incredulous, as he had been in the business world for half his life and had never seen such a strange thing. Shi Mengqin was also confused, but her face revealed an arrogant and excited expression as she arrogantly ordered, "Ruthlessly teach him a lesson." Fang Shishir directly looked at Tang Zheng, hoping that he would make a decision. Tang Zheng nodded his head and said, after apologizing, "You can leave. There is nothing for you to do here." "Yes, thank you, young Master Tang. We will first take our leave." The other party called out to his companions and hurriedly retreated, carefully closing the door behind him. The atmosphere in the private room relaxed as Shi Mengqin stared at Tang Zheng with dissatisfaction and said, "Why didn't you ruthlessly teach him a lesson? How could it be that simple after apologizing?" Tang Zheng inwardly shook his head as Shi Mengqin, this kind of unreasonable mother, was able to raise a well-educated daughter like Fang Shishir. It was a miracle that Fang Shishir did not have that kind of bad temper. "If you want to teach them a lesson, then go yourself. Tang Jing crossed his arms as he looked at Shi Mengqin with ridicule. What kind of tone is that? Daring to speak to me like that, you must be overturning the heavens. Shi Mengqin clamored as she was afraid of those people but was not afraid of Tang Jing. Fortunately, Fang Chongguo was smart and stopped his wife as he nervously said, "Little Tang, let's quickly leave this place. They just mistook you for someone else, and when they find out the truth, they will definitely come back. At that time, we will be in trouble." It was clear that Fang Chongguo did not believe that Tang Jing was the young Master Tang and thought that they had mistaken him for someone else. Tang Jing smiled but did not refute. Fang Shishir was clearly dissatisfied as her boyfriend had solved this problem, but her parents did not believe in his ability, so she pulled Tang Jing to sit down and said, "I am not afraid. With Tang Jing here, no one can harm us. Shishir, this is not the time to mess around. Those people do not look like good people, so we should quickly leave this place." Fang Chongguo became serious as he was clearly scared by this group of people. Fang Shishir pouted and said, "It was clearly a family eating happily, but it ended up like this. How boring. Shishir, if you want to eat then order. It's okay." Tang Jing passed the menu to her without a trace of fear, causing Fang Chongguo to frown and said, "Tang Jing, this is not the time to be brave. If you want to eat then go to another restaurant." Shi Mengqin agreed, Sure, let's go. If he wants to eat then let him eat alone. If he wants to die then don't drag us down with him." After saying this, she pulled Fang Shishir and was about to leave. "Mom, what are you doing?" Fang Shishir unhappily broke free from her mother's hand. Fang Chongguo solemnly said, "Shishir, listen to your mom. Let's go." He glanced at Tang Jing and inwardly shook his head. Being young and impetuous was not a good thing, and this kind of person usually did not have a good ending. Immediately, he became even more determined to separate his daughter and Tang Jing. Creak. The door opened, causing several people to jump in fright as they all looked towards the door. A group of people blocked the door, causing Fang Chongguo and Shi Mengqin's faces to turn pale as they hastily retreated. "See, I told you to quickly leave. Now that people have come knocking on our door, we can't leave even if we want to." Shi Mengqin roared in panic as she looked at Tang Jing with incomparable disgust. Fang Chongguo's face was also ugly. Fang Shishir looked at Tang Jing with concern only to see him calmly sitting on the fishing platform without any reaction. A person who looked like a leader swaggered in, and Shi Mengqin pointed at Tang Jing and shouted, "It's him. All of this was caused by him. He was the one who pretended to be someone else and has nothing to do with us." "Mom, how can you be like this?" Fang Shishir said with a belly full of anger. Fang Chongguo did not stop her as his heart was apprehensive. From the leader's aura, he could see that he was not an ordinary person. This was especially true for the fierce aura around him, which caused his heart to tremble in fear. Tang Jing stood up without the slightest trace of fear on his face as he walked towards the other party. The others looked at him in shock while Fang Shishir pulled on him with concern written all over her face. Tang Jing patted her hand to make her feel at ease before walking towards the newcomer. A clear and bright laugh suddenly sounded. "Young Master Tang, it really is you. I heard from my little brother that they had mistaken you for someone else." The newcomer was an old acquaintance, Lin Hu. When he heard his little brother say that he had provoked Tang Jing, he jumped in fright and hurried over. Tang Jing nodded his head and said, "It was just a small misunderstanding." Lin Hu's heart relaxed. Since Tang Jing said that it was a small misunderstanding, then this matter was not that serious. Of course, he could not appear relaxed as he turned his head to look at his little brother and fiercely said, "Scram out here." The young man from before stood up in fear and with a put-on sound, knelt down in front of Tang Jing. He laid his head on the ground and trembled. The others all looked at Tang Jing with the same expression. All in all, it was fear. Fang Chongguo and Shi Mengqin were dumbstruck. If they thought that the other party had mistaken him for someone else, but now that the boss had arrived, how could the boss have mistaken him for someone else? The answer was obviously no. But this did not make sense. The poor bastard in their eyes was actually revered by this group of people. They felt that their world view was about to collapse. Shi Mengqin licked her lips and looked at her husband. She did not know what to say. Fang Chongguo's mouth was dry and his throat moved. In the end, he did not say anything. On the contrary, Fang Shishi's face was filled with excitement as her large eyes glowed. Tang Zheng's image in her heart instantly became even greater. This is Boss Fan's head, Saber Zai. He is currently working for me. This time, I specially invited all my little brothers to eat together to consolidate their hearts. I never thought that he would actually provoke you. Lin Hu said with a complicated feeling. After he took over Boss Fan's territory, the majority of Boss Fan's little brothers had pledged allegiance to him. This time, he specially invited his little brothers to eat together in order to win their hearts and make them sincerely pledge allegiance to him. He never thought that Saber Zai would actually provoke Tang Zheng, causing him to not know what to do. Saber Zai and the others had all participated in the forest battle. However, Tang Zheng came quickly and left quickly. Although he left a deep impression on others, not many people remembered his appearance. There was a clever person who remembered him, which was why he spoke out to remind Saber Zai. Young Master Tang. This name was too resounding among this group of people. That battle was won by Tang Zheng and Boss Fan was even crippled by Tang Zheng. How could they provoke such a fierce person? Moreover, the new boss and Tang Zheng's relationship was not shallow. To provoke the boss's friend right after pledging allegiance to the new boss was simply seeking death. Young Master Tang, I beg you to let me go. I will never dare to do this again. In the future, I will be your cow or horse to repay you. Saber Zai's heart was like dead ashes as he begged in fear. Chapter 111. Dao Zai was actually a person who dared to fight and was definitely not a coward, but he was currently a rootless duckweed. If he could not establish himself under the new boss, then his future days would be very difficult. The underworld was Jianghu. The people of Jianghu seemed to have a rich and colorful life, but in reality, how much bitterness was hidden was difficult for outsiders to know. Where there were people, there would be grudges. The grudges of Jianghu were even more endless and the grudges were even more intense. Therefore, if a Jianghu person wanted to leave Jianghu, it would be very difficult unless they reached Huang Biao's level and did not fear the revenge of others. Otherwise, even if it was Lin Hu, he would not dare to leave Jianghu. Leaving meant that he would lose his power and his enemies would come knocking on his door. Without the care of his fellow soldiers, it was possible that one day he would end up as a corpse on the streets. Dao Zai understood this point, which was why his heart was like dead ashes. Lin Hu looked at Tang Zheng but did not say anything. If Tang Zheng really punished Dao Zai, then he would have nothing to say. In his heart, Tang Zheng's position surpassed anyone else. Everyone's eyes all focused on Tang Zheng's body as he was the focus of the crowd. The private room was completely silent as even Shi Mengqin stopped her clamoring, leaving only the sound of slightly hurried breathing. Tang Zheng and Lin Hu looked at each other. He naturally understood Dao Zai's meaning to Lin Hu. Moreover, Dao Zai did not make too big of a mistake, so he bent down and supported Dao Zai's arm. Dao Zai's entire body trembled, showing the great fear in his heart. Stand up. You are Huzi's brother, so of course you are my brother. Brothers of the same family, this is also called no discord, no concord. Tang Zheng calmly said. In Dao Zai's ears, this voice was like the sound of nature. No voice in the world was more pleasant than this voice. He was especially excited as he timidly looked at Tang Zheng. Discovering that the other was not lying, he hurriedly said, Young Master Tang is magnanimous. In the future, Dao Zai will do anything for you without hesitation. That sonorous and powerful tone was not the least bit fake. Tang Zheng smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, Properly follow Huzi and your days will only get better and better. Yes, young Master Tang. Dao Zi nodded respectfully. Lin Hu smiled. After such a ruckus, he unexpectedly did not make Dao Zi and the others bitterly disappointed. Instead, he was able to rope them in. He felt that Tang Zheng was simply his lucky star, so he laughed heartily and said, "Young Master Tang's breadth of mind is truly admirable. Everyone else, leave, don't disturb young Master Tang's mood of eating." The younger brothers filed out and closed the door. Lin Hu pulled Tang Zheng and said, "Are these young Master Tang's friends?" "Let me introduce myself first. My name is Lin Hu. I'm a rough man and I'm trying to make a living in ordinary balance." Fang Chongguo quickly changed his expression and shook hands with Lin Hu, saying, "This humble one is Fang Chongguo. Director Fang, nice to meet you." Lin Hu said warmly. Shi Mengqin wanted to say something but hesitated. Fang Chongguo's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick as he hurriedly stopped his wife, afraid that she would say something that would offend the other party. Fang Chongguo had never heard of Lin Hu's name, but it was clear that the other party was not an ordinary person. It was best not to provoke him. What he was most puzzled about was the relationship between Tang Zheng and Lin Hu. It seemed that Lin Hu was very respectful towards him. But this did not make sense. Could it be that Tang Zheng was the son of some big shot family and deliberately maintained a low profile? But what kind of big shot family would pick up trash and live in a broken house? He had a stomach full of questions and was prepared to go home and properly ask his daughter about Tang Zheng's background. Fang Shishir was very happy as Tang Zheng had resolved this crisis, making her feel that she had face in front of her parents. In the future, there would be less resistance, so she pulled Tang Zheng and happily ordered the dishes. Fang Chongguo and Shi Mengqin became supporting characters and did not say a word. Lin Hu would occasionally whisper a few words to Tang Zheng before raising his head to look at the Fang couple. His expression clearly changed. The two were shocked as they did not know what Tang Zheng said. They were deeply afraid that he would say bad things about them, but they did not dare to directly ask. Don't look at how Lin Hu was respectful in front of Tang Zheng and did not put on any airs. That was because Tang Zheng was strong enough to make Lin Hu accept him wholeheartedly. In front of others, Lin Hu's aura was not weak. After all, he had been in Jianghu for tens of years and his domineering aura could not be concealed. Every time Lin Hu glanced at them, the two's hearts would suddenly jump. However, Lin Hu's attitude towards Fang Shishir was clearly much better as he was not stingy with his praises, causing her to beam with joy. In reality, Tang Zheng did not say bad things about the Fang couple and was only speaking the truth. Moreover, Lin Hu was not an idiot. He could see that the two were clearly dissatisfied with Tang Zheng and could not help but snort disdainfully. He had seen many of these so-called successful people who thought that they could fly to the sky with just a little bit of money. In his eyes, they were not worth mentioning. As they spoke, a table full of dishes was served. Lin Hu poured a cup of wine and said, "Young Master Tang, let me toast you. I'll drink it, you can drink as much as you want." The culture of the wine table was broad and profound. Just this simple sentence contained too many profound meanings. Fang Chongguo naturally understood the profound meaning behind it, and that was that Lin Hu had lowered his status to a very low level. Tang Zheng also drank it in one gulp. Lin Hu gave him face so he naturally would return it. "Director Fang, let's drink," Lin Hu also said. His attitude towards Fang Chongguo was clearly much more casual. Shi Mengqin was about to flare up but was stopped by her husband. "Mr. Lin, let me toast you." Fang Chongguo smiled and drank first. Lin Hu also raised his head and drank, saying, "Young Master Tang, I still have guests to take care of so I'll go first. You guys take your time eating." Tang Zheng nodded his head. Dong dong. Just at this moment, a knock sounded out and the door was pushed open. A woman walked in. This woman was around 30 years old and had a strong aura. She was dressed in martial attire and exuded a heroic spirit. Although she could not be considered beautiful, she was very pleasing to the eye. "Brother Hu, you ran over here and left me to drink alone. That's not good enough." She leisurely walked over and said in a coquettish yet angry tone. Lin Hu stood up and laughed, "Fire Phoenix, look, aren't I just about to go over? Tang Jing thoughtfully looked at the person who came in. So she was actually Fire Phoenix. It seems like Lin who has already begun to carry out his plan to rope her in. Fire Phoenix's almond eyes swept over the several people. Her gaze paused on Fang Shishi's face as she said in her heart, "What a beautiful girl." However, she directly ignored Tang Zheng. This was because Tang Zheng was indeed very ordinary. He did not have the tyrannical aura of a tiger and was just like an ordinary high school student. Moreover, there was a bit of shyness between his eyebrows, giving off the feeling of a neighbor's big boy. "Brother Hu, why don't you introduce your friend to me? Are you afraid that I will steal your business?" Fire Phoenix said with a smile. "Fire Phoenix, my small business is not worthy of your attention." Lin Hu paused for a moment and solemnly introduced, "This is young Master Tang." Fire Phoenix's gaze finally fell on Tang Zheng's body. Her eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment, but she immediately smiled like a flower and said, "Young Master Tang, nice to meet you." From Lin Hu's tone, she could hear the respect he had for Tang Zheng. Moreover, he was the first to introduce Tang Zheng. This meant that the other party's identity was not ordinary. To be worthy of the title of young Master Tang, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Her mind quickly flashed past ordinary balance and other large families. However, none of them had the surname Tang. This made her unable to see through Tang Zheng's background. "Fire Phoenix, your reputation is not as good as meeting you in person." "Nice to meet you." Tang Zheng nodded. Fire Phoenix smiled, "Oh, young Master Tang, you have actually heard of my name. It is my honor." Her gaze turned and looked at the other people. "What about these people?" Lin, who had not yet introduced when Fang Chonghua took the initiative to stand up and excitedly said, "Chief Fire, I am Ding Tai Real Estate's Fang Chonghua. I am currently discussing with your company about cooperation." Fang Chonghua was really excited. He had never met Fire Phoenix before, but her name was like thunder to his ears. This was because her name in the real estate industry was too resounding. She had a construction company under her. The company was not large, but its strength was strong. Especially in the area of demolition. Many of the difficult areas in ordinary balance were taken care of by her. Nowadays, there were two most difficult areas in the real estate industry. One of them was the land, and the other was the demolition. Many places in the country were boiling with resentment because of the demolition. Group incidents occurred frequently and many officials were implicated because of this. And Fire Phoenix's demolition company was one of the oddities in ordinary balance. They could quickly take care of those nail-biters. Moreover, they would not let them complain or ask for help. Many of the ordinary balance's real estate companies would ask her for help. Thus, her position was very special. Fang Chonghua was jealous of the real estate boom. He had also set up a real estate company and painstakingly took over the land. But now, he was stuck in the demolition process, causing his work to stop. Seeing the money flowing out, his heart ached. He was so anxious that he was on fire. He tried to find Fire Phoenix through his connections, but to no avail. This was because Fire Phoenix was very busy. Or it could be said that she had a lot of big clients. Thus, she did not want to see a small client like him. He never thought that he would actually meet Fire Phoenix. And this was all thanks to Tang Zheng. This made him have mixed feelings, but he was more happy because his problem could be solved. Fire Phoenix nodded and said, "Oh, so it's Chief Fang. Nice to meet you. If you had said earlier that you were Brother Hu's friend, then we would have cooperated a long time ago." Fire Phoenix's heart moved as she judged the other party's intention to find her. Naturally, since he was Lin Hu's friend, her attitude was a lot better. Fang Chonghua looked at Lin Hu with a complicated expression. He really could not guess what kind of person he was to have such a good relationship with Fire Phoenix. Fang Chonghua personally poured a cup of wine and said, "Chief Fire, I am fortunate to meet you today. Let me give you a toast. As for the matter of cooperation, I will go to your company tomorrow to discuss it with you." He held the wine cup and wanted to pass it to Fire Phoenix. Fire Phoenix did not accept it but looked at Lin Hu thoughtfully. From Lin Hu's attitude, she could see a lot of peculiarities. Lin Hu's attitude towards Fang Chonghua was cold, but he attached great importance to this young Master Tang. Fire Phoenix was a smart person, so how could she not understand the importance of this table? Thus, she smiled at Tang Zheng and said, "Young Master Tang, I wonder if I have the honor to drink with you?" What was called disparity? This was called disparity. Fang Chonghua took the initiative to propose a toast but Fire Phoenix ignored him. However, she took the initiative to drink with Tang Zheng and even said that it was her honor. The difference was like heaven and earth. Chapter 112. Fang Chonghua embarrassedly put down his wine cup and awkwardly looked at the crowd as he never thought that his face would be swept away like this. Shi Mengqin finally could not bear it any longer as she fiercely slapped the table and said, "Tang Zheng, what is the meaning of this?" Lin Hu's eyebrows immediately wrinkled as he coldly stared at Shi Mengqin. If not for Tang Zheng's gaze stopping him, he would have already flipped out. Fire Phoenix glanced at Fang Shishir as if deep in thought. Her eyebrows blossomed into a smile as she said, "Then you guys eat first, I'll be leaving first." She then nodded towards Tang Zheng and walked out. "Huzi, you go accompany Fire Phoenix," Tang Zheng calmly said. Lin Hu stared at Shi Mengqin and said, "Young Master Tang, then I'll be leaving first. Call me if you have any orders." The two left and the atmosphere in the private room became stifling. Shi Mengqin arrogantly looked at Tang Zheng and said, "Are you relying on your gang of scoundrels to intimidate others?" Tang Zheng's expression did not change as he lightly said, "I didn't do anything, why would you say such a thing? Look at those people's attitudes. Young Master Tang, they aren't even ashamed." Shi Mengqin really lost face today and seeing Tang Zheng admit defeat, her imposing manner became even stronger. "Mom, you are making trouble without reason. Tang Zheng helped us resolve the problem yet you still criticize him. You are too unreasonable." Fang Shishir was so angry that her face turned red. "Shishir, I have raised you for so many years yet now you are siding with an outsider. I am just stating the facts and speaking reason. I see that you don't have me as your mother in your eyes. What is so good about this little brat that he is worthy of you protecting him so wholeheartedly? He is good and I like him." Fang Shishir raised her head and said resolutely. "You." Shi Mengqin was so angry that her entire body trembled. "Enough." Fang Chonghua slammed his hand on the table, causing the plates to jump up. His face was ashen as he angrily said, making such a ruckus, "Where are your manners?" Shi Mengqin was also shocked as she rarely saw him so angry. She hurriedly comforted him, "Chonghua, calm down. Don't lower yourself to this little brat's level." Fang Chonghua glared at her and said, "You're the one who made me angry. What was wrong with you just now? Why are you yelling at Tang Zheng?" Shi Mengqin was stupefied as she looked at her husband at a loss. She did not understand why her husband would say such a thing as she was clearly protecting his face. Shi Mengqin was just a full-time housewife who wholeheartedly wanted to transform herself into a noble lady. She didn't care about Fang Chonghua's career at all, so of course, she wasn't aware of the crisis he was currently facing. Although Fang Chonghua's attitude towards Fire Phoenix made her a little surprised, but she was already filled with anger, and seeing her husband being humiliated, she couldn't help but explode. "Chonghua, I'm helping you." "Help me?" I think you're the one who's harming me." Fang Chonghua unhappily said, unable to accomplish anything, but good at spoiling things. He originally thought that with his relationship with Tang Zheng, he would be able to form a relationship with Fire Phoenix, but this was completely destroyed by Shi Mengqin. Fang Chonghua looked at Tang Zheng, not knowing what to say. He had just treated Tang Zheng, so how could he speak up for him? "Go home, don't make a fool of yourself outside." Shi Mengqin looked at her husband in alarm and then looked at Tang Zheng, her eyes flashing with hatred. Tang Jing acted as if he didn't see it. Seeing Fang Shishi's dejected expression, he advised, Shishi, go home and rest first. Tomorrow is the monthly exam, so do your best. Fang Shishi hesitantly nodded her head. The few of them went to the counter and prepared to pay the bill, but they were told that the bill had already been paid by a Mr. Lin. Fang Chongguo's expression was complicated as he looked at Tang Jing, and the family disappeared into the night. Tang Jing shook his head, as tonight's series of unforeseen events were out of his expectations. He didn't know what the other party would think of him, but this wasn't his main concern. In any case, he didn't have a good impression of them. Young Master Tang. Someone called out from behind him. Huazi, is something the matter? Brother who invites you over. Huazi respectfully invited. Tang Jing nodded his head, indicating for him to lead the way. The two of them arrived at a private room, where Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were sitting. Young Master Tang, I'm sorry for disturbing your meal. Fire Phoenix said apologetically. Tang Jing sat down, shook his head and said, this has nothing to do with you. They have long been dissatisfied with me. Young Master Tang is such an outstanding youth. If they aren't satisfied, then they really don't have good eyesight. Fire Phoenix stared at Tang Jing. Just now she had already asked Lin Hu about Tang Jing's identity, but Lin Hu kept it a secret, which made her even more curious. You flatter me. I'm just a high school student, not some outstanding youth. Tang Jing spoke the truth. He never bragged about his identity. High school student? Fire Phoenix's eyes widened in astonishment. She coquettishly glared at Lin Hu and said, brother who didn't reveal your situation at all. You really want to hide an outstanding youth like young Master Tang from me? You're too mean. Lin Hu hurriedly explained, Fire Phoenix, you can't blame me for this. Young Master Tang's matters are best left to him. I don't dare to speak carelessly. Oh, then I'm all ears. Young Master Tang, you don't mind talking about your great achievements to broaden my horizons. Fire Phoenix's aura was very strong, but this series of words made her seem approachable. There was a strong sense of intimacy. I don't have any great achievements. If you really want to talk about something that surpasses others, then it's my academic results that are a bit special. Tang Jing said with a smile. Academic results? Fire Phoenix snorted and laughed even more happily. This is the first time I've heard someone praise themselves like this. Then young Master Tang must be very powerful? Tang Jing shook his head and said with a deadpan expression, right now I'm the last in the school. Last. Fire Phoenix's laughter came to an abrupt stop. She was dumbstruck. Young Master Tang is really humorous. Interesting. But I'm very curious about young Master Tang and Brother Hu's relationship. Fire Phoenix had been invited to participate in Lin Hu's dinner party. It could be considered as her understanding of his strength. After all, this time Lin Hu's victory was too unimaginable. She had no choice but to pay attention to it. This time she discovered that Tang Jing and Lin Hu's relationship was not shallow. Her intuition told her that Tang Jing was related to Lin Hu's rise. She could not explain the reason, but it was a feeling that she had cultivated for many years. Brother Hu and I are good brothers. Tang Jing said. Oh, I've never heard of you before. I wonder which family young Master Tang is from. I'll pay a visit some other day. Tang Jing shook his head, that won't be necessary. My house is just a rundown house. It can't accommodate a great god like you. Young Master Tang really likes to joke. The more Fire Phoenix listened, the more confused she became. She thought that the other party was unwilling to say, so she did not continue to ask. She changed the topic and said, just now I wanted to drink with young Master Tang but was not able to. Now I want to drink to my heart's content. Tang Jing did not refuse. Lin Hu had already filled 3 cups of wine and said, come, the 3 of us will drink a cup first. The 3 people drank in one gulp. Fire Phoenix immediately launched an attack. She continuously drank with Tang Jing. Not long after, the bottle of wine was emptied. Lin Hu saw this and quickly advised, Fire Phoenix, who doesn't know that you won't get drunk even after 1,000 cups. Are you trying to get young Master Tang drunk? Hee, I see that young Master Tang's alcohol tolerance is not bad. When drinking with a close friend, 1,000 cups is not enough. It's been a long time since I drank to my heart's content. Today we must not leave until we are drunk. Young Master Tang, what do you say? Fire Phoenix's alcohol tolerance was very good. She wanted to get Tang Jing drunk and then get some information from him. Fire Phoenix, I'll drink with you. Lin Hu pulled up his sleeves and boldly said. Brother Hu, I have drunk with you many times before. This time I don't want to drink with you. This time I want to drink with a handsome guy like young Master Tang. You go to the side. Lin Hu looked at Tang Jing inquiringly. It was clear that he was asking about his alcohol tolerance. Tang Jing rarely drank, but he could use his qi to dissolve the alcohol, so he was not afraid. Moreover, Fire Phoenix gave him a very good impression. In order to cooperate with her to deal with Hoodlum, he had to drink this wine. Good, then I will risk my life to accompany you. We will not leave until we are drunk. Tang Jing boldly said. The two people drank cup after cup of wine. Tang Jing's expression did not change, but Fire Phoenix's face gradually changed. It was bright red like a ripe apple. Lin Hu looked at the two people drinking with interest. He gradually saw the knack of it. Tang Jing's drinking was like drinking water. Moreover, the more he drank, the brighter his eyes became. This was very frightening. Lin Hu had never seen a person who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk, but Tang Jing clearly had this tendency. Fire Phoenix held the cup of wine and could not drink anymore. Her stomach was overturning and many things wanted to rush out. She knew that she had reached her limit. She had not drunk like this for many years, but seeing Tang Jing as if nothing had happened, she was both shocked and frightened. There was no one who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. After drinking a few jeans of wine, the effect of the alcohol had far exceeded the limit of what the human body could bear. But Tang Jing was completely unaffected. This showed that he was using his internal energy to dissolve the alcohol. This was not a secret for martial artists. Fire Phoenix was also doing this, but after all, there was a time when one's internal energy was exhausted. So after drinking so much, her internal energy was no longer of any use. She was almost drunk. From this point, it showed that Tang Jing's internal energy was much higher than hers. Fire Phoenix suddenly realized why Lin Hu was so respectful to him. Just who was the one who taught this youth to have such profound internal energy in his teens? Fire Phoenix was a third-grade refining body. This showed that Tang Jing was at least a fourth-grade refining body. This was even more powerful than Huang Xiang in the past. Fire Phoenix did not dare to continue thinking because her thoughts were gradually becoming chaotic. She could not drink anymore, or else she would be making a fool of herself. Young Master Tang is good. I, Fire Phoenix, humbly admit defeat. Fire Phoenix gave a thumbs up and praised. Tang Jing smiled and put down the cup. He had his internal energy to dissolve the alcohol, which was much more powerful than a martial artist's internal energy. He really could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. It was just that his stomach was a little uncomfortable. After eating and drinking, Brother Hu, now we can talk about the purpose of your invitation. Fire Phoenix let out a long breath and used her internal energy to suppress the effects of the alcohol. She maintained the last trace of clarity in her mind and lightly said, "You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."